evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the 5th race for Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. The Next Level Racing 125 is live and set to go tonight from iRacing's virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana. I'm Blake McCandless, and I'll be joined alongside in the booth tonight by Jacob Hitz. Kenneth Bueno, unfortunately, absent tonight, but Jacob, looking forward to this racetrack. It's a combination that we're running tonight. Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the IndyCar. I mean, there's really no more that you can say than that. This is a track, this is a combo that all of these drivers hold very near and dear to heart, and they want to win at this racetrack.
One of the crown jewel events that we have on the M&R schedule for this year. Good evening, everybody. And this is the first time we've been here since the start of Season 3 with this car track combination. And we tore up a lot of equipment then, and I think we're staring in the face of another one tonight. But
maybe.
125 laps, though, Blake. So we've got a long night ahead of us. This is more than half the distance that they run at the Indy 500, just under the 400-mile distance that the Cup Series would run here on the Oval at 160 laps. So we're looking at a lot of pit stops. Remember, these Indy cars don't hold a ton of fuel. We've got 100% capacity in the fuel tanks tonight, and they're still going to be pitting pretty often. So they're going to have to keep strategy in mind tonight. No doubt about it. They only have 4 sets of tires in the pits as well. So they have to pick and choose when they want to take tires and when they just want to take fuel.
Well, and I think, Jacob, this is something that often is a marquee event, not just in M&R, but on the sim itself. When you think back to every May, iRacing will run both an open and a fixed Indy 500. But that's really, I think, the only time a lot of these drivers are running this car. And that was, 6 months ago, over 6 months ago. So you got to think these drivers, it may be a little bit out of practice because it's something that comes around once a year. But nevertheless, we've seen a lot of drivers in practice tonight. They're trying to get ready. And like you said, a big challenge here with 125 laps, the long one tonight.
Well, and in the 5 seasons of M&R, this is only the 10th time that we've taken the Indy cars out onto a racetrack. Last time we used them toward the end of last season in the playoffs when we were at Auto Club. So you're right, these guys don't use the Indy cars a lot. And personally, I love the Indy car on the service, especially on the ovals. I think it's one of the better things that the service has to offer. I know you enjoy the 87s. I like the Indy cars. I like the way they race with humans, with AI. It doesn't necessarily matter. So I'm going to enjoy this race for the most part, and we'll see how things play out. Some of these other guys, though, they don't necessarily have the IndyCar experience, no matter the racetrack, and it's going to be a bit of a learning curve for them tonight. Not only through practice and through qualifying, they've had some testing throughout the week, but tonight's the night where you got to know what you're doing or you're in for a long race.
Some of the most fun I've had on the service was in the IndyCar at tracks like Homestead, Chicagoland. It can put on some incredible racing, as we know, on the oval side of things. But as we have moving forward, Jacob, it's hard to imagine. Season 6 feels like it started a week ago, and yet already we are 4 races into this season. We're currently on race 5 here tonight, and not that much time, Jacob, left before the round of 12 starts. It's starting to get down already, early enough, if you can believe it, to the nitty-gritty here, and these drivers vying for these last few playoff spots that are open.
That's right. After tonight, just 3 races to go. We go to north of the border. We go to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park a week from tonight with the next-gen cars. That should be interesting because not everybody has experience with the next-gens on a road course, and particularly this road course. That's going to be a big learning curve. Then we take the 1987 cars to Auto Club Speedway, perhaps the hardest challenge these guys are going to have the rest of the regular season. A week off for the holidays, and then we come back fresh in 2023 at Talladega, where this season started back in November with the next gens, and that is going to be a heck of a car track combo to set this round of 12, because you're taking one of the wildest cars on a plate track and throwing it at one of the wildest plate tracks that we have and telling them to go at it and decide who's going to race for a championship over those next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that is a lot to determine. And again, when you look at that round of 12, Jacob, I mean, one thing that pops out, super late models at Richmond. If you can remember the super late model race we had in season 5, it was at Gateway, another flat, short track, if you want to kind of call it that. It was a long one and something that is very challenging for these drivers. There's really nowhere to hide in that round of 12. You have super late models at Richmond. You have the ARCA car on the high banks of Daytona International Speedway, which, of course, anybody can win. And then it's a combination that we don't see very often. Porsche 911 at Watkins Glen. So if you're a road course ringer, you at least got your chance. You can't complain that you don't have a chance to try and make this championship floor.
Well, and then you move on to that round of 8. Pocono, a track that I don't think we've ever run in Monday Night Racing. If we have, it was a one-off early on in its series. Chicagoland with the trucks. We've been to Chicagoland a couple of times in the past. Most recently, the cutoff race for the playoffs in Season 4 with the Xfinity cars. Then we take the Xfinity cars to Homestead to crown a champion, perhaps the rightful place to have a championship race. But I've got Pocono circled on my calendar, not because it's my home racetrack, but that's the wild card to me. We can kind of expect something out of Watkins Glen with the Porsche 911 just because that's a road course car on a road course. ARCA at Daytona, we already know that's going to be wild. It was wild last season. And the super late models at Richmond, again, that's kind of where you would expect the super late models to go. They're not going to be easy to drive by any stretch, but I think they're going to be okay. And that, even though it's a short track, has the potential, I think, to be one of our cleaner races of the whole year. But it's Pocono that I think is the wild card just because not a lot of guys, even though they're with the next gens, not a lot of guys are prepared for that race.
Yeah, and we've seen that combo on the service in the Coke Series. It is a kind of almost in a way that you don't anticipate. It is a very draft dependent combination. Speaking of those playoffs, let's see how they stack up right now, heading into those playoffs right now. A name, Jacob, that I don't think many M&R fans out there would have anticipated. How about Joey Patchett right now, who's been consistent throughout the beginning portion of this regular season? He finds himself at the top of the heat, just 1 point better than Season 4 champion and Adam Cabot. You got another champion that is 1 point behind him in Presley Sora. And then, of course, you start to move into the winners. You can see marked by the asterisk, the star next to that name, or next to that number total, rather, designates a winner who is locked into the postseason. Of course, you can see Chase Cabry, David Schoenhaus, Garrett Smithley, who won our season opener, and Corey Heim, who have been able to accomplish it thus far. But in terms of getting in on points, which I think will be a viable option, Jacob, you still have a lot of drivers on the right-hand side of that screen who are within striking distance. I mean, you look, Corey Heim to Raja Caruth, for example, that's 6 points, 6 drivers within that same gap.
Well, and I want to bring up somebody, Blake, that's not on that picture at all and is going to need to win a race to make the playoffs at this point. Anthony Alfredo. He already used his drop last week because of the connection issues he was having. The same issues are back this week. He is not going to be in this race the way it looks again. So he is digging himself in a huge hole right now to try and get out of and get into this round of 12. I'm not exactly sure where he needs to be for his win to count to get him into the playoffs. But right now, he's going to need a lot of help, and he's going to need to find a way to win at CTMP, at Auto Club, or at Talladega, and that's if he can get those issues fixed over the next month or so. He is right on the edge at this point of missing the round of 12 and missing the playoffs after it being some 10 feet short from winning the championship earlier this year.
Yeah, there's a lot left to be determined, that is for sure. And it's not just inside of the top 12. It's all the way back here at the top 35. And the reason this is important, Jacob, these drivers are fighting to get in and be locked in to each race. So these are the drivers a little bit further back in the field sometimes that are still fighting for their right to not have to qualify in, to not feel that pressure to have to run that lap that gets them into the race. They want to be locked in. And so you have some of these drivers, Stephen Ellis, Jordan Buster, Seth Eggert right now, who are inside that top 35, and a fair amount of drivers just outside, Jacob, who are more than capable, but just find themselves on the wrong side of that points battle right now.
And you know, Joey Savache, he's had a decent season but he's had crappy results, and it's not necessarily his fault. He's just gotten caught up in wrecks late in the race that have hindered his shot at moving above that top 35. But there are a lot of heavy hitters down there and regulars in this series that are outside the top 35 and have to qualify their way in. George Belfins Jr., Stephen Font, pretty much everybody below Savechi there is what you see normally out of MNR. They're all on the outside looking in and have to qualify their way in. Now, they got lucky tonight that not enough drivers showed up in the qualifying race, so everybody that showed up punched their ticket automatically to the big show. So all of those drivers will race tonight that are on the outside looking in that showed up and made an attempt.
Well, and typically you'll see that at a lot of these places or a lot of these leagues that as the year goes on and you kind of get in the later portion, sometimes the numbers will drop a little bit. So those who are really committed are able to show up and able to participate even as we get later on in the season. As we take a look at this beautiful racetrack, Jacob, I was in a great enough spot. I was able to visit here when the NASCAR Cup Series came here in July. It makes me want to come back when you see the stands are full and it's in May and you're singing Back Home Again in Indiana. It makes me want to come back here and you feel how special this place is. The air almost feels different in this Palace of Speed at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but this is where these guys will be contesting battle for us tonight for 125 laps.
And I tell you what, Blake, back during Memorial Day weekend, I had the ability to be down in Charlotte for the Coke 600 weekend, and that was special. This, on Memorial Day weekend, this racetrack is special times 10. Standing outside the ticket gate at Charlotte, watching the Indy 500 on my phone. They showed the end of it on the big screen. That's how much this place means, not only to the people in Indianapolis and in Indiana, but around the country. The fact that you still have people, even if they're at another event, they still want to know what's going on with the Indy 500. I think that's the great part of motorsports, too, is the fact that there is so much overlap between series. If you like NASCAR, you likely like IndyCar and F1 and everything in between. But this place has to be a bucket list item if you're a motorsports fan, and I can't wait to see how things go tonight. Hopefully, eventually in the future, I'll be able to head back, not quite to home, but to Indiana.
Well, and I tell you what, I was lucky enough to be helping somebody roll a cable in Victory Lane early morning in the NASCAR weekend. It was Friday morning there. And just standing in Victory Lane, rolling a cable, I mean, you can feel how special this place is, that you're standing on hallowed ground. It's just a credible thing to experience for somebody who had never really been here before. Been to a lot of different racetracks, been to the Daytona 500 a number of times. There's nothing quite like being at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, going to the museum and learning more about the history of this place and IndyCar in general. It's such a great experience. Can't recommend it enough. Like Jacob said, if you are a motorsports fan, you have to try and find your way here to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it'll be a special place to win for whoever is able to win the Next Level Racing 125 tonight. So as we have a little bit of a delay in the action, having to change servers a little bit as we are trying to get things all sorted out, all squared away. The lineup's all good. They had to throw up another server, so we will take a moment to get that accomplished. And while we do that, why don't we step away here for just a moment as we will get ready for the running of the Monday Night Racing Next Level Racing 125 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I ain't trying to break you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life. your life. Run for your life.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street. Everywhere. Interstate batteries. Outrageously dependable.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 Gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
I ain't tryna bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life. Run for your life. Run for your life.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Back with you here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, getting things set for tonight's running of the Next Level Racing 125 Indy cars at Indianapolis. It rarely, if at all, gets better than that here on this service. Blake McCandless, Jacob Hitz, ready to call the action for you tonight. And while we get these drivers settled in and ready to go for tonight, it seems like it's fitting tradition here to play this song as we get set and ready to go tonight. Back home again in Indiana.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana
Wonderful to hear that tune ringing through this hallowed ground. And Jacob, it is sure to be a fun one tonight. And because of that, I think we can do something that's a little fun here on the broadcast, and that is take a look at our picks here tonight, which I don't believe any of us had the winner last week in David Schildhouse. Unfortunately, we have two that are not here, so Josh Balicki will be the pick of Eric Estep. Kenneth Bueno is going to go with Connor Berry. Jacob, Bailey Turner. Can't say that I would have anticipated you picking that Bailey Turner machine.
Well, and Bailey Turner is somebody, it seems like week in and week out, that can kind of sneak into the picture and be an impact late in the race. And I considered picking him for Texas last week. Wound up going with Ryan Vargas instead. Vargas still got me the win out of all four of us, even though he finished 11th. Got me 2 more points and keeps me out in front of you by some 8 points. So we'll see how that goes after tonight. But I wasn't going to pick Bailey Turner to begin with, but my initial guy didn't show up early, so I said, all right, we'll call an audible. We'll go with Bailey Turner. He had a decent finish when we ran here back in Season 3. I know a lot of cars did not finish that race. He started 32nd, but he was able to make his way up through the field and finish in the top 10. So if he can keep the nose clean, I like car number 5. Give me Bailey Turner.
So Bailey Turner, the pick of Jacob. And again, this is kind of working, I would say, DBC style, that we can pick anybody in the regular season, but you can only pick them once, and we'll reset things in the postseason. I'm going to go with Leighton Sabile, Jacob. And, there's times every once in a while where you have to pick, you have to look at the stats, you have to look at their previous finishes, you have to do all that. Well, I didn't do any of that with Leighton Sabile. I'm going to go with Leighton Sabile. If nobody has seen the social media video that was posted, I believe by Noah Gregson on Twitter a couple days ago, Leighton Sabile was at the Snowball Derby doing an impression of the announcers. It was so good that I said right there, if Leighton is racing on Monday night, I'm taking him regardless of anything. He's an accomplished and a good sim racer in his own right, but you know what? There's no logic with this one, Jacob. It is all heart. I'm going with Leighton Sabile because, I watched that video probably 5 or 6 times over. It was hilarious. Well done, Leighton. I hope you double up on it tonight.
There you have it. And hey, that's part of the picks. That, like, week 1, I didn't know who to pick when we were at Talladega, so I picked some guy that I wouldn't pick again later on in the year. It worked for me, Matt Stallneck. So Leighton could be the guy tonight. Could be the guy to take you all the way and get your first win on the year.
We'll see if he can do it. And again, Connor Berry with Kenneth Bueno and Josh Balicki, the pick of Eric Estep tonight, as it looks like drivers are qualifying right now, Jacob, or at least in the midst of it. Just a little bit of time left in this qualifying session. Still have a long ways to go. And right now it's the hometown man, Presley Soar, who's on top of the board as we take a look at our grid rival picks for tonight. You can see the featured matchups on the left-hand side of your screen. It's been fun to be able to look at these odds and potential matchups and all that every single week here, courtesy of Grid Rival. Again, these are not actual bets that you can be making. This is just for fun. But Grid Rival is the most in-depth fantasy motorsports manager game on the planet, and is full of engaging features that bring a new level of engagement to your favorite racing series. Grid Rival is proud to support Monday Night Racing, and you can check out the Grid Rival app in the App Store if you want to learn more. There's the overall race winning odds for tonight at the top of the heap. Last week's winner, Jacob, David Schildhouse.
The guy, as you called, with the hot hand a week ago, after burning himself a couple hours before the race, and it took it straight to victory lane. So we'll see how he does tonight. I know he said over the radio a little bit earlier on during practice that you cannot drive behind anybody. So racing in the big pack is going to be pretty difficult. But right now, with where he's qualified, he's not going to be stuck behind too many cars.
Not right now. A lot can change. There's about a minute left or so before we officially set the BST Shocks starting grid for tonight. But again, Jacob, I think you kind of put things well earlier, is that this is a different race. Different because it's at Indianapolis. Different because of the cars that we're using. Not something you typically see in this league. But I think one thing that you mentioned was the race length. That was pretty important there. We'll have to see. But without further ado, let's get things going here tonight with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of the
And as we mentioned earlier, qualifying has come to its conclusion, and with it, the winner of the Roasted Gems Coffee Pole Award for tonight at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is Presley Sora. 39.486 seconds. It's the quickest of the bunch. He will start on the front row along with Chase Cabry, your top two starters tonight for the BST Shock starting grid. Ford Martin up here in third. Jacob, how about that? As Ford Martin will start third, Seth Eggert, another great run for that 57 machine, will roll off from the fourth spot. Fifth will be DJ Cummings. David Schotthaus, last week's winner, locked himself into the Season 6 playoffs, will roll off from the sixth position. Eric Estep's pick and Josh Balicki, he will roll off from seventh. Corey Heim will start in the eighth starting position. James Bickford starts in the number 29 car. I was about to say in 29th. He's in ninth, rather. And Stephen Ellis Jacob rounds out your top 10.
Preston Pardis, P-Money, lines up in position number 11. Gary Sexton lines up to the outside in P12. Row number 7 has Gabe Wood on the inside. Jordan Buster, one of the newcomers on this season, in 14th on the outside. Ronnie Osmer, Leighton Sabile, your pick, Blake, lining up there in row number 8. Row number 9, my pick, Bailey Turner. Connor Berry, that's Kenneth's pick to the outside. And in row number 10, how about this? Colin Fern in 19th. Adam Cabot going to start 20th. Cabot won here at Indianapolis last time we were here in the IndyCars. His first career M&R win.
21st is your points leader. Joey Padgett going to have to do some work through the field from the 21st position. 22nd goes to Michael Fisher. Will Rogers is 23rd. Devin Henry will start in 24th tonight. Going from 25th, it will be Matt Stallnecht, and Justin Malillo will start in the 26th position. Somebody will have to watch on this in this combination. Ryan Vargas will start 27th. Chris Weaver, he'll start in 28th tonight. Joshua Slate rolls off 29th, and Nick Olson rounds out row 15 and 30th.
One of our post-race hosts, Michael Massey, lines up 31st. Case Kallenbach to the outside in 32nd. Marker Billis and Ron Capps, two guys outside the top 35, trying to point their way in back there in row 17. Same with Dakota Curtis and Reed Wilson back here in row number 18. Robbie Lyons, Max Kennan, 2 regulars in M&R, guys that have had some struggles this early part of the season looking to get it rolling. Alex LeBay, Rajah Caruth back there outside the top 40. Anthony Alfredo, and those connection issues didn't get fixed. He's still not going to race. Steve Affont, Garrett Smithley, shotgun on the field. Your 42 cars, because Alfredo, you see there, will not start and likely will not get a lap in here tonight from Indianapolis.
Yeah, that stinks for Anthony Alfredo, who's been so competitive. And again, this is going to hurt his chances, Jacob. When you talk about racing for a championship, he may have to, one, hope the internet's working a little bit better, and two, try to win to have an opportunity. You can see it is overcast here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as Chase Cabry looked to try and get an early jump there on the outside, but he'll have Presley Sora on the inside in the Shaq Geiger machine. Green flag is out, 125 laps. And the next level racing, 125 is green.
Oh, we got one car sideways in the middle of the pack. It's David Schildhouse. 3-4 cars pile in coming off turn number 1. Now more trouble in the back of the field. One car winds up on his side as a dozen cars are littered all over the short chute between turns 1 and 2.
It has started early here at Indy, Jacob, and again, it was not any contact. You can see David Schildhouse here in a turn 1, just gets loose. Nothing else to say. Schildhouse on cold tires. It's a cold racetrack. We just talked about it. Just loses control of that race car, and you could see the funnel off of turn 1 into turn 2. A plume of smoke covering Speedway, Indiana. And on lap 1, turn 1, Jacob, this is looking like at least 20 cars involved in this one.
Corey Heim involved in this one. Ronnie Osmer, James Bickford nowhere to go. Gabe Wood got some damage out of all of that. In the background, some more cars. It really just nowhere to go. They couldn't slow up in time. Some of those guys, Mark Urbillis, he went around. He was able to save it, I think. Case Kallenbach, big damage. Reed Wilson, he was the one that wound up on his head. He ramped over Dakota Curtis, Alex LeBay, Ron Capps, all involved in the back of the field. So we've got roughly 10 cars involved in this opening crash.
That's what I was going through and just kind of scrolling through to see and assess the damage here. Alex LeBay, Case Kallenbach, as you mentioned, Garrett Smithley. And again, Jacob, this is one of those cars that we run a lot of different combinations here in M&R. This is one of the sensitive cars where just about any bit of damage and you're out of commission. Now, luckily, of course, these drivers, as they do in every single race, they have one fast repair in the back pocket. But this is a 125-lap race, Jacob. Using that fast repair when you're not even able to get through the first corner, probably not the approach that most of these drivers wanted tonight, to say the least.
You don't want to. Oh, we got a black flag for Presley Sora. Restart violation for the race leader. After all of that chaos, Presley Sora is going to have to go to the back. Josh Mendoza dropping a bomb on us under the caution flag. And I'm trying to get the explanation from Josh Mendoza. I think the deal is that they were supposed to go when the pace car hit pit road, and they didn't, and they waited until green. I'm not exactly sure on where we're at with that, but Presley Sora is going to have to drop to the rear of the field, it looks like, for a start violation. Unbelievable.
Well, and so, Jacob, I remember watching that start. You had Cabry on the outside, you had Presley Sora on the inside, and Cabry got moving as soon as like you mentioned, the pace car dropped to pit lane. Cabry took off. Sora did not. So perhaps this is a rule that was discussed in the drivers' meeting beforehand. But, man, that is a tough break for Presley Sora, who, again, earned the pole. This is his hometown where this racetrack is, so a very special race for him. And unfortunately, he's going to have to climb his way up through the entire field. It looks like that black flag, as it stands right now, is still there. So that is a tough break for Presley Sora.
Well, and they did this at Auto Club Speedway in the playoffs last season, where they would slow everybody down, let the pace car get out in front, and then they would run the outside in 3 and 4, and they would go in the middle of turns 3 and 4 once the pace car got to pit road. And that was so that way the pace car could get to pit road and nobody would get black flagged for passing the pace car before the green flag came out. So that's a rule that they've used in the past with these cars. So not entirely surprised here. Just it's something different than what we normally do. The drivers didn't catch it in the drivers' meeting, and it cost them.
So I'm looking at the full running order here, Jacob. We've obviously well documented Anthony Alfredo and some of his struggles trying to get back into the server. There are 3 cars that I see are 1 lap down. Now, whether that's because they elected to fix their damage, it didn't feel like they needed to use that fast repair early enough. Chris Weaver, Garrett Smithley, and Ron Capps has yet to be seen. Ron Capps right now still sitting on pit road. But it looks like the lights are out on the pace car, and we'll try to get things going here. Sora is at the back of the field as things run right now. So a lot of chaos, a lot of controversy here early in the going. The Next Level Racing 125. This time the pace car dives to the pit lane, and Cabry does not waste any time. Double file restart. Cabry takes off, and we are back underway here in Indy.
A great jump from Chase Cabry. He listened to directions, so he'll scoot out in front. Ron Capps has parked the car. He is done for the night after the opening lap crash in the back of the field. First side-by-side battle is for position number 6. Ronnie Osmer trying to go around the outside of Seth Eggert. He's trying to bring Stephen Ellis and that yellow machine along with on the outside.
But not only that, you have this battle up here for second, and DJ Cummings is going to be able to complete that pass over Ford Martin for that second position. So Ford Martin slots himself back into the 3rd spot. Josh Balicki runs 4th. Ronnie Osmer, as you mentioned, is in 5th, but it is all behind Seth Eggert. That battle for 6th. Eggert trying to hang on. Is now Cummings going to take a look for the lead into turn 1, and will he get it done on the outside? He's trying to hang on right now.
Gotta be tough trying to pass on the outside in turn 1 and turn 2. He's gonna try it, but Chase Cabry uses that bottom side to his advantage. He'll retake the lead. DJ Cummings will have the draft coming down the back straightaway. Again, he peeks to the outside. He'll get right alongside, wheel to wheel going to turn number 3. Cabry still with the advantage down on the bottom.
Oh, this is tough to make happen. And Cabry just slides up directly in front of DJ Cummings. Close quarters right there into turn 4, but it's not going to matter too much. That draft very powerful. It'll pull DJ Cummings right up to the back bumper and side by side into turn 1. There's no bumpers on Indy cars.
Rear wing, maybe. I guess we're just used to bumpers. Still side by side, as you mentioned, Blake, and DJ Cummings can't get anywhere on that outside line. Perhaps just trying to test some things out for later on in the race when it really matters when you have the draft. But once again, down the back straightaway, he peeks out to the outside. He pokes his nose out in front, but Cabry charges back on the bottom.
Off at turn number 2 as Preston Pardis was dead to rights. Got his left front down on the apron in turn 2, somehow has the wherewithal to collect that race car, left a bunch of smoke out there in turn 2, but saved it. We're going to take one more look right here. You see the bright red 42 down on the bottom of the racetrack, and locks it up and saves it. That is marvelous driving right there from P-Money.
I can't believe he held on to that thing. Meanwhile, up here at the front, Chase Cabry, we've got a caution, trouble in turn number 1. One car down on the apron with damage. It's Garrett Smithley. He comes up and catches Steve Affont right at the last second as Affont was trying to get by. Another car involved in this where it all started. Michael Fisher got in trouble and got turned by Nick Olson to bring out the second caution.
Take one more look at it here. This was further back in the field, Jacob. You can see the wreck, at least up front, had already ensued. You can see Garrett Smithley, who was involved in that first incident as well, so he gets tagged in this one. The second incident in just under 10 laps. We'll see it once more. Look at Nick Olson there on the bottom, slides up the racetrack and right into Michael Fisher.
And tough break for Garrett Smithley. He just got wide trying to slow the car down. He's already used his fast repair. His race is done as the field comes by here on the front straightaway. And you see Steve Affont had nowhere to go, just got tipped right at the last second. The good news for Michael Fisher, he has not used his fast repair yet, so he's going to be able to get back rolling in this race. Gabe Wood is back on the racetrack now, 3 laps down. make it 5 laps down after fixing the damage on his car. He chose not to use the fast repair after the first caution as the field gets caught back up behind the pace car here coming out of turn number 2.
Not too long of a review here to look back at this previous caution. Race control Josh Mendoza says Nick Olson will be tabbed with responsibility in this latest crash. And Nick Olson has one of 2 incidents against him tonight, Jacob. And again, with the length of this race, that's got to be something here. We're still in the first 10 laps, a long way to go. I know we haven't seen many times in series history, Jacob, where you have somebody who is parked for causing 2 yellows, but if there is going to be a race where that may happen, I think tonight just might be it.
Very good odds, especially this early on with just 2 cautions and 9 laps. Some of these guys may be heading for the exits a little bit early if the damage doesn't already take them out.
It might just be the case as once again here in the Next Level Racing 125, we are proud at Next Level Racing to partner with Monday Night Racing. Founded in 2009, Next Level Racing is the world's leading simulation brand, revolutionizing sim racing with its industry-leading product range. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information. Jacob, I know we were talking off of the air just before we got on that both of us have received our Next Level Racing chairs. We're excited to feature them, and here's even owner, president, CEO, whatever you want to call him, of Monday Night Racing here, Ford Martin, getting a nice little look at the Next Level Racing rig right there, as he may also be frustrated about something. I don't know. He was shrugging right there for just a moment. He might be looking at the broadcast too, but he's not running in a bad spot right now, sitting in P3.
I was say, what could he be upset about? Yeah. What could he be upset about? He's running P3 right now.
Exactly.
Great run by far. And he had a really good run when we were here back in Season 3. He came away with a top 5 finish there. Actually finished in the 6th position, just outside the top 5. So he's somebody that could be a dark horse for sure if he can keep that 07 clean.
And how much it would help him in the points when we were looking at it earlier, Jacob. I don't know if he was quite around contention, at least for the time being, when you talk about the playoffs and as they run, where they stack up and being close to that top 12. But it would go a long ways to help him if he were able to win tonight and try to lock his way into the postseason. And I can confirm that Ford not in the top 20 right now in the point standings. So this race would go a long way. We have, again, early on, long way to go, but would be a big help for him. You were talking a little bit earlier, drivers who have already gone behind the wall in this one, and there's a couple of them. You mentioned Garrett Smithley a little bit earlier, has parked at Gabe Wood, is out 5 laps down, but he is out on the racetrack, so he will try to recover and get his laps back. And of course, Ron Capps, 8 laps down, will be scored in 42nd position tonight. Michael Fisher is back on the racetrack. He did go a lap down after having some contact there with Nick Olson in turn number 1. So Fisher right now would be the first car 1 lap down to try and get back on the lead lap. Remember, a rule change earlier this year, no more free wave arounds. If we had long green flag runs, everybody would wave around the pace car if they were a lap down. None of that, but there is a traditional lucky dog rule for these restarts. These drivers can try to get back on the lead lap. So the lights are off on the pace car. It'll once again be Chase Cabry up front. DJ Cummings has looked awfully strong so far in that number 10 NASCAR machine running on the outside of row number 1. Again, these starts very quick. As soon as the pace car moves, they are eligible to get going, and Cabry and Ford Martin does just that. Lap 12, we are back underway here in Indianapolis.
DJ Cummings on the outside line did not get a great restart. Everybody shuffles once they get to the start-finish line. Ford Martin looking for the outside line. Ronnie Osmer is in 3rd. Here comes Ford Martin looking for the outside for the lead on Chase Cabry. It won't work. Cabry leads the charge off 2.
One car may have scraped the outside wall. Dakota Curtis had an issue in turn 1, but we stayed green for the moment. Back up front, Cabry all the way on the bottom side of the racetrack. And oh man, close quarters. They nearly touch for the race lead as Martin trying to make that outside work. Jacob, that outside working a lot better, at least early on in this race, than I would have expected it to.
A really good job up there. Max Kennan had a heck of a save through turns 3 and 4. Almost popped the outside safer barrier and took 3 cars with him. Cabry still charging on the bottom, trying to clear Ford Martin for this race lead. Side by side again through turn 2. Cabry remains the strongest car down on the bottom, and he will lead him off too.
Well, again, I think both these drivers know how important once we get 5-10 laps into this run or so, what having that clean air does. You lose a lot of fuel mileage. We hear about that a lot in the Indianapolis 500. Who wants to lead? Who wants to ride around in that dirty air? But in doing so, you save a lot of fuel. So right now, these two drivers trying to decide which they want more. Do they want some of that draft? Do they want a little bit of that clean air to try to make the corner? Right now, Ford Martin wants the lead, and he nearly had it at the stripe, but Chase Cabry holding strong on the bottom side of the racetrack for now.
Just how powerful that inside line is here at Indianapolis. You get such a run in the draft down the straightaways, you pull out, go to the outside, and unless the guy on the bottom makes a mistake, you're simply not going to be able to get by him. It's just that plain and simple, as still Cabry takes the bottom, and he'll pull back away from Ford Martin off turn 3.
Oh, and once again, we've had this already early on in this race where do you quite clear up off a corner exit? That time Cabry not quite able to do it off of 3. He does do it off of 4. And these drivers, they're going to be side by side entering 1, entering 3 for at least the next good bit. But it seems like Martin doesn't mind having the clean air as Cabry a little bit of a slip up, a little bit of a wiggle down on the bottom side of the racetrack. Give the advantage now to Ford Martin. And don't forget about Ronnie Osmer there riding in 3rd.
Like I said, you make a mistake, and that could open up the door for the guy on the outside to complete the pass. But Cabry got a huge run down the back straightaway and stays even with Ford Martin through turn number 3. They're still even coming off turn number 4. They're going to be dead even down the front straightaway. Ford Martin just a nose, just the wing out in front as they head back to turn 1.
I gotta say, Jacob, I was not expecting this outside lane to be as competitive as Ford Martin and DJ Cummings have shown it to be. As Cabry right down on the bottom, it just seems like you get a little tight down there. Again, these are very cool conditions. It's overcast, which, quite honestly, Jacob, we don't see that much in iRacing. There's not many leagues that run overcast skies because you have custom control over it. It's not often you see overcast, even if you leave it to its own, leave it up to its own. And Chase Cabry looks like he will fight back for the race lead once again. Ford Martin dips down, gets a little bit of draft, and this time it's Cabry
somebody about fenced it coming off turn 4. Leighton Sabile was in a 4-wheel power slide off turn number 4, lit the tires up. He loses half a dozen spots, but he keeps the thing off the wall and in the right direction, and he's around again. He's into the outside wall. He takes one car with him, Joey Padgett, another car with damage. Preston Pardis, the right front damaged. Gary Sexton has some damage as well. Leighton Sabile lit the tires up just a bit too much, and this time it costs him.
Well, that was a case there, Jacob. He got a little bit of clean air entering turn 1. He was on the outside, or at least kind of in the middle, behind Joshua Slade. He dips down, and I don't know if he checked up or he just got a little bit of clean air on the nose, and it just whipped that car around immediately. And that's one thing about these Indy cars, Jacob, that there is not a lot of warning when they snap. It just happens instantly. You almost can't even react to it. And Sabile obviously got a little bit loose off of turn 4. The tires were heated up. He gets a little bit of clean air, and there's just nothing he can do with that car. He tries to avoid it. You can see a little further on back, that was Alex LeBay who tried his best to avoid it, or excuse me, rather, that was Gary Sexton who did his best, got a little bit of the outside wall right there. And Sexton does not have required repairs, but Sabile does, Preston Pardis does, and so does your points leader and Joey Padgett, who, I mean, he could barely drive the thing around. I mean, he is hitting the wall right now. I don't know how he's driving on 3 wheels, but he's making it work.
And I think there was Sabile, you kind of saw there was a car that was a little bit slower in front of him. He turned to the left to try and get underneath him, and when he did, he got that clean air, but he also got the left tires on the apron underneath that white line, and I think that's what caused him to snap around there, just getting too far below that white line. And sometimes all it takes is just misplacing by an inch, and it'll get your car out of shape, especially when you just let the tires up. I'm sure he had no grip down there, and that's what caused him to go around.
Josh Mendoza agrees. Leighton Sabile, the cause of that incident, and he will be put at the tail end of the field when we get back going there. So longest green flag run of the night. We are still at least not 20 circuits done with this race as it stands right now. Chase Cabry, Ford Martin have been awfully competitive up front. I'm surprised, though, we haven't seen really anybody pit, Jacob. We talk about how important fuel mileage can become if this thing gets strung out and we have these long runs, and these Indy cars cannot go that far on fuel mileage. So I'm kind of intrigued to see that everybody up front at least is kind of prioritizing fuel or track position rather than fuel mileage.
Well, you had about half the field come onto pit road here, Blake, under this caution flag. Colin Fern led the crew down, and most of them are down and away at this point. The top 13 or so have not pitted yet. Alex LeBay pitted under the first caution. Bailey Turner pitted under the last caution. Same with Will Rogers. And then Reed Wilson, David Schildhouse, they pitted under that opening caution. So that's where we stand right now. So we've got some guys that have yet to pit and are going to have to pit more than likely, I would think, within the next 10 laps or so. And then you've got everybody else who I think now will be okay to make it about 30 laps.
Running under caution here in the next level racing 125. Blake McCandless, Jacob Hitz on the call with you tonight from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round number 5 of season 6 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. As it's been a good one so far. You've had Chase Cabry and Ford Martin duking it out at the front a couple of times. We'd like to remind you that Tough Coat Flooring is an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. Tough Coat doesn't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach, and, well, neither should you.
Hold
Tough
on,
Coat
Blake.
listens to your needs.
We had a crash on pit road, and I completely missed it. Chat caught it. Chris Weaver absolutely punt, passed, and kicked Steve Affont trying to come onto pit road. He was coming down the front straightaway way too fast. Affont was trying to get to pit road. I'm not sure if Weaver was also trying to get there or what happened, but he drop kicked him down the front straightaway toward the entrance of pit road. And I mean, a lot of damage to both cars. For Chris Weaver, the nose cone is destroyed. I think he lost the left front wheel as well. A lot of damage for those two guys, as it's not necessarily what they needed, especially under caution.
Well, it's been tough to get on pit road, and when you couple with that the fact that you have a lot of drivers who are trying to get to pit road with damaged race cars. I remember I was watching Joey Padgett at the beginning of this caution. I mean, he came to a stop, or he tried to. He did a full 360, was spun around the wrong direction, and then had to do another loop to try and get back in his pit stall correctly so that the game would even pit him. That's how the damage in this IndyCar, this new damage model that iRacing has, it works. It's tough to try to make happen because, man, when these cars get damaged, they just the wheels just do not operate correctly. Sometimes you can't even drive it back to pit road. You have to take the tow down to pit lane because it's just so unsalvageable, and at least you have that fast repair to look forward to. But, of course, as mentioned, you can visit toughcoatflooring.com. There you see it right there at the bottom of your screen right there for all your custom solutions for every client. They will listen to your needs. But Jacob, still early on in this race, a lot left to be decided. Trying to look at some big movers that we've had so far, and really no driver sticks out, at least right now, more the Ronnie Osmer running in that third position, started back in 15th. You've also had Matt Stallneck, who started outside the top 25, finds himself in 8th, and even right behind him, Ryan Vargas in the same category finds himself in 9th. So a couple of big movers, at least early on in this race.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look toward the middle of the field, Robbie Lyons up 20, Alex LeBay up 25. The biggest losers so far, Presley Sora. After that penalty that he had on the restart, he's still trapped back in 30 seconds. So he's got a long way to go to get back up to the front of the field after starting from the pole. And it's going to be a long night for that 98. And with him being back there, he's got to be careful that he doesn't get caught up in somebody else's mess.
Try to do that. And off of pit road, it is worth mentioning too, these drivers are limited to 5 tire sets, including what they started the race on, so 4 on pit road. Make this race very interesting, and still early on in this one, don't know how many came down and elected to use at least one of those sets of tires. As Chase Cabry, early start for him, green flag back in the air, a lap 22 here at Indy.
A lot of shuffling. Ford Martin wanted the bottom before Chase Cabry could get back to the bottom. It didn't quite work. Ronnie Osmer winds up on the bottom. He's side by side for third. Here comes DJ Cummings trying to get around the outside, and he will take that third position away.
Makes it look easy, and he's going to have a monumental run into turn 3. He elects not to use it because these top 2 still side by side for the race lead. Makes it difficult to try and make a move around either of them. There hasn't been a third lane, at least that I've seen, Jacob, and I don't know if we would see it here at Indy. But once again, up front, side by side, Cabry just has Ford Martin at the stripe.
And Ford's been trying that outside line the whole race long, but he just hasn't been able to get by Cabry. Meanwhile, further back, here comes Ronnie Osmer peeking out of line, looking to get by Josh Bilicki. Bilicki shuts the door, and they both go really high at the racetrack. Osmer all but hit the outside wall. The suspension's okay, but he may lose a little bit of time coming off turn 2.
Well, he's already lost a number of spots. He restarted in 3rd. Now he's back here in about 5th, and now you have this 3-car battle brewing up front between Cabry, Ford Martin, and DJ Cummings, who's finally kind of gotten through a little bit of traffic and will have a run once again. But there's just nowhere to go with it, and I think even he recognized, Jacob, it's early on. It's lap 24 of 125 laps. Not worth trying to just go out and get the race lead. Content to sit for now and just ride around and make some laps here, because we've had a little bit of trouble just doing that. But keeping your track position, being smart here, I think that's the message here for your top 3.
Well, and remember, older tires, so it doesn't have as much grip down in the corners. So if you race really aggressive, you may pay the price, like he almost did there, washing up a little bit and almost collecting that outside wall a lap ago coming off turn number 2. Ford Martin tucks in line. He'll pull back out, though. He wants the lead. DJ Cummings going to try and push him forward. They're wheel to wheel. Here comes Cummings. 3 wide. No, he thinks better of it.
Well, he wanted it, but Chase Cabry threw a block, and I got to say, if you're going to be blocking like that on lap 25, that is certainly a decision right there for Chase Cabry. Locked in with a win, though, Jacob, so he's not having to worry about points right now. But, man, Cummings had a run, and he lifted to not make that a 3, or perhaps even more cars involved in that one. Big moment right there, and we'll have to see, does Cummings try to go to the bottom 3 wide once again, knowing that Cabry may try to shut the door.
Well, now he's going to look for the middle. Cabry's going to leave the middle open. They'll go 3 wide for the lead. Ford Martin bails out of town. He wants nothing to do with this. DJ Cummings drives it in deep round the outside. Here comes Cabry back on the bottom. They're still wheel to wheel coming through turn 2.
DJ Cummings trying to make that middle line work, but now he's going to get right into the conundrum of Ford Martin as they nearly make contact down the back straightaway. I don't know if they have a side draft model in these cars, but Cabry and DJ Cummings, gloves are off here on lap 26, going at it at the front of the field at Indy. Ford Martin settles back in 3rd. They're even side by side further on back. You got Stephen Ellis, Josh Bilicki trying to chase down this front group.
And those two about made contact coming off turn number 2, wheel to wheel. They bounced off each other, kept it straight. Here comes Cummings, though, for the lead. Once again, around the outside, you ride on board with Ford Martin in that 3rd spot. He's got a front row seat to the madness going on at the front of the field with just under 100 laps to go. Cabry able to clear. DJ Cummings coming off turn 2.
Once again, though, Cummings not going to ride around in line. He'll peek his nose back to the outside, trying to pinch down. And well, I won't say pinch down, Jacob. We haven't really seen a lot of that from the outside line. Cabry has obviously been on the bottom, but DJ Cummings, Ford Martin, not really pushing the issue, I'd say, and really running Cabry right down to that white line or down to the apron. They've been giving a lot of room when they go to the outside here, but Cabry, I think, is just daring them to go to the outside. He says, you want the outside? Take it, but you're not going to pass me on the inside.
That's exactly it. You want to get by me, you're going to have to go the high side. If you go to the bottom, well, you're not getting by me because I'm going to be in the way. So, and that's the way he just has to do it right now, maintaining that bottom, saying, yeah, I'm not moving. If you're going to get by me, you got to go to the top. And so far, nobody has been able to break through that number 39.
Right on board here with Nick Olson. He was involved in that earlier incident. You can see right now they're definitely shifting, at least down the straightaway, as far as we can tell. They're running right at the top of that gear. Carrying a lot of speed at this racetrack, Jacob. Again, it's very cold out here, so these guys are going about as fast and pushing this car, as far as iRacing is concerned, to its absolute limit. You can see a nice job right there. Olson able to get by on the top side of Alex LeBay. And Olson, or excuse me, that was Jordan Buster that he just passed, up in the 13th spot.
Yeah, Nick Olson's had a nice little rebound since he had that contact a little earlier on. Great side-by-side battle going on behind him. Jordan Buster, Bailey Turner back here wheel to wheel, coming off turn number 4. Turner's going to get out of it and just fall right back in line. Try and get back into speed trouble off turn 4. One car up into the air. It's Max Kennan. Another car involved. Michael Massey down to the inside. He gets hit hard on pit road. Gabe Wood had nowhere to go and comes piling into the crash, winds up hitting the attenuator at the end of the pit road wall. Max Kennan wound up in the air. Another car wound up with damage in that. That's Seth Eggert, who had nowhere to go and wound up with a face full of Max Kennan coming off turn 4.
Yeah, a couple of drivers looked to try and go to the pit lane to avoid that accident. Dakota Curtis was one of them. It looks like he may have gotten by with just a little bit of damage, but relatively unscathed. Perhaps the side pod on that car a little bit damaged. But that's just a typical wreck off of turn 4, Jacob hits, and again, there's just not a whole lot of room to go with that attenuator that you were mentioning for pit road entrance. It just funnels the racetrack. You have to make a bold move. You have to stay out on the racetrack, or you have to go and make a dart onto the pit lane. Of course, you can do that, and they're black flags. Unlike if they were in an iRacing official session, it would be cleared if they were going down pit road to avoid an incident. But just a tough deal off of turn 4. Probably the worst spot to try and miss a wreck here at Indy.
Yeah, it's such a bad spot for an accident to happen. And we saw this with the NASCAR Xfinity Series when they were at Pocono. A similar accident. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got loose and spun it coming off turn number 3. And everybody just trying to fan out and avoid. Some took the risky business of going toward the pit road wall. I was sitting right out of turn number 3 and hoping nobody was going to hit the pit wall and hit those barrels. Thankfully, nobody did. But Jeb Burton wound up on his top, squeezing in between the Stenhouse car that was crashing and that pit wall. So pit road is a very busy place right now, Blake, as the guys that haven't pitted up till this point, they are coming to pit road, and the folks that have already pitted, like Colin Fern, they're going to stay out.
You can see the split right there on your screen. Chase Cabry leading them onto the pit lane right now. Can imagine that 4 tires is going to be a very popular call, and trying to fill it up all the way with fuel to try to go as long as we possibly can. Very quick pit stops here, Jacob. Quicker than I'm sure a lot of these drivers expect. You can get out in about 8 or 9 seconds. So very, very quick compared to, I'm sure, what many of these drivers are used to.
Right, yeah, I mean, in the 87s, it takes almost 20 seconds for a 4-tire stop, and it's even longer in some of the other cars. So you feel like you have a lot of time when you come to pit road. Not in the Indy cars. It's less than 10 seconds, you're back out on the racetrack. You got to be prepared. There's pretty much no wiggle room. Like, you can't take a breather. You're right back to work.
I think Gabe Wood is going to call it a night after being involved in that latest incident. He was already 5 laps down, and I think that was his second attempt at having his race car, so no fast repair left in the back pocket. And it looks like that will be the evening for Gabe Wood, currently scored right now in the 39th position, 7 laps down. Well, we're very fortunate tonight, Jacob, to be joined by our in-race reporter. We were great to have Josh Balicki last week. This week it is Mark Rabillis. So, Mark, we can see you right now back there running in 31st, but how's your night been so far?
It's been a little bit crazy. My whole plan was to be very conservative because being around at the end is what matters. But on the first lap, there was a wreck in turn 1. I made it through, but then I ended up somebody ran into the back of me. I forget who it was. So I've been dealing with some damage, but I haven't used my fast repair, so that's good. But yeah, it's just a matter of surviving till the end. I feel good in this. I love this car track combo.
So I wanted to ask you a question because I know here in Monday Night Racing we often used fixed setups, so everybody is on the exact same playing field. There's a little bit more wiggle room in this Indy car, though, with being able to adjust the front wing, being able to adjust the weight jackers. Have you been kind of tinkering or trying to find any bit of speed as we've gone through this run here?
Yeah, but the weight jacker is very important with this, especially when you're in lap traffic. But the problem that I had is on that first crash, it made even though I got all my damage repaired, my car is still driving a little weird, so I have to be negative on the weight jacker just so the car doesn't spin out. Otherwise, in practice, I was plus 10 on the weight jacker in traffic, and it was working out really well. So it's kind of affected my strategy, but I still have that fast repaired for later on in the race. So if I eventually use that, then I can go full crazy with the weight jacker again.
You think anybody's going to have the Mark Rubilis Clean Driver of the Race Award kind of wrapped up here in this one?
I think so, because most of the time if you wreck in these, you're kind of done. So eventually we're going to have a small enough field. I think somebody's going to get it. But it'd be fun if it kept going, because I don't think anybody would get it if it goes on to next week.
All right, Mark. Well, the restart's right now, so good luck, and hopefully we'll talk to you a little bit later.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, so Mark Rubilis, we'll let him get back to work. Green flag is back out. Colin Fern leads the field into turn 1. He did not pit on this latest round of pit stops.
Now, this is really interesting here, Blake, because Chase Cabry is stuck back in traffic right now. It's not a lot. He's in P6, but you've got guys that are not used to being stuck in the draft that are back there right now. They're 4 wide down the back straightaway. Heard Rajah Caruth come over the radio and say he's 4 wide. Yes, indeed they are, and he's going to pick up all 3 spots as he blows by a lot of cars down the back straightaway. Haven't talked about him a lot tonight, but he is a man on a mission right now.
And meanwhile, back up front, you can see Justin Malillo going all the way to the bottom to try and block and keep the race lead from Colin Fern. Car 53 at the top of the board here at Indy. Not going to last very long, though. Colin Fern gets back to the outside. He'll make it work around turn 1. Interested to see, though, the difference between these drivers who did not pit with fresh tires. How much of that is going to factor? We see DJ Cummings, Chase Cabry already up into 4th and 6th, respectively. So fresh tires seem to be pretty important, Jacob.
Well, and I thought fresh tires were going to have an impact earlier when, Cabry in the front half of the field stayed out and the back half came in, but it really didn't. We didn't really see them climb up through the field as fast as I would have thought, as they are scattering coming off turn number 4. Nick Olson got up and out of the groove, and he is off the pace. He loses almost a dozen spots. They are 3 wide trying to get by him. Connor Berry, and now there's trouble! Hard into the wall. Olson clobbers into the pack. Adam Cabot, Ryan Vargas involved in this, coming into turn number 1. Cautions out and a lot of fast race cars with a lot of damage.
I think that was a typical case. Jacob, you mentioned we were 3 wide. We could all see it up here in the booth. I don't think Jordan Buster knew that they were 3 wide right here, and that's what Ryan Vargas is saying. Look, right behind Rajah Caruth, you're going to see Jordan Buster turn down into Ryan Vargas entering turn 1, and I just don't think he expected that 3 wide move from Connor Berry right there on the front straightaway. A missed spotter call or just a lack of awareness right there for just a moment. It wraps up Ryan Vargas, and as you mentioned, several others into this one. Nick Olson comes piling in. He has nowhere to go. Also, you have Adam Cabot, Devin Henry, who gets involved in it. Very bad damage for those drivers. Alex LeBay tags the outside wall and looks like he'll have some required repairs. I'm looking at the entry list and looking at all the meatball flags, Jacob, and it is a lot. Cabot, Olson, Vargas, LeBay, Buster. It is a long list.
A lot of cars. Now, Nick Olson was given an EOL penalty after the caution flag came out. If he is given an incident point for piling into that crash, he is done for the race. Because remember, he was already given one for causing a wreck earlier on tonight. So Nick Olson could be facing being parked here. I'm not quite sure where that EOL penalty comes at. We'll see if we get an update from Josh Mendoza. I know he's doing about 15 things right now trying to prevent World War III from breaking out.
Yeah, he's got his hands full, and while we let him settle that out and determine the penalties and whatnot from that latest incident, we will step away from just a moment as we continue under the caution flag once again here in the Next Level Racing 125 from Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I ain't tryna bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life. Run for your life. Run for your life.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street. Everywhere. Interstate batteries. Outrageously dependable.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
Back with you here on Podium Esports for live flag-to-flag coverage of the Next Level Racing 125. The IndyCars making their way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Monday Night Racing. Just before we get going back under the green flag, we want to let you know that Monday Night Racing is on TikTok. So if you want a more candid and fun way to experience Monday Night Racing, you can watch race highlights, interactive clips, and occasionally Ford Martin dancing. I don't know why you'd want to watch that, but that is at Monday Night Racing on TikTok if you're somehow interested, at least in the other content, Jacob. Maybe not Ford dancing. And heck, it may be him driving towards the front of the field. He is still up here in the top 10. But again, you can catch all that content at Monday Night Racing on TikTok. And of course, we invite you to follow them on all of our social media platforms. Green flag is back out. Justin Malillo leads them back to green. Not a great jump, though, for Colin Fern. And here comes Michael Fisher, car 96, the outside looking for the race lead.
Remember, he has damage. He got involved in an incident earlier on tonight, but he's not letting that bother him at all. He goes around the outside. He takes the lead. Here comes Colin Fern around the outside. He's looking for second. Now here comes DJ Cummings trying to get back into the picture, and whoa! Fern pulls way out of line to the outside. He wants the lead, and he's got it in turn 3.
He went low, he went high, and he finally found it in turn 3. An aggressive move there from Colin Fern. It's paying dividends, though, as he gets a pretty decent lead, probably one of the bigger leads that we've seen tonight, as he tries to break the draft from Michael Fisher, DJ Cummings, Justin Malillo, and here comes Chase Cabry back into the top 5, and he's got fresh tires, but he makes contact with Malillo.
Not clear, but they're able to hold on, and everybody's okay. As now a caution comes out. There's trouble in turn 1, coming out of turn 1. One car against the outside wall. It's Michael Massey. Another car involved, actually Max Kennan, Ronnie Osmer involved in this one. So a crash back around the outside the top 20 between Kennan and Ronnie Osmer.
And I think, Jacob, this one's pretty cut and dry. Kennan just got down to the bottom, and that car just did not turn into the corner. Maybe chased it up the racetrack as he got a little bit loose. Heavy damage for him. Definitely a fast repair. If not, he is done for this race, which I'm pretty sure he is. Ronnie Osmer may be in that same boat as well. He was competitive early on, running up in the top 5. He tags the outside wall off of turn number 1 pretty hard. And another look at it right here, trying to get through. Nice little job done there of avoiding everything right there. I believe that was Ryan Vargas who made his way by. So nice job there. Nick Olson also did his number to make his way by unharmed. So did Dakota Curtis. So nice job from a couple of drivers. But yeah, I think that's pretty easy right there, Jake. And Max Kennan just got into turn 1. That car did not want to make the corner.
And for Kennan, it's a good thing that car doesn't work either way, because he's getting parked. I'd imagine he gets the cause for that. That's his second cause, so he'd be done for the night anyway. So the car don't work. That'll be the end of the rope for Max Kennan, who I thought would have a pretty decent run tonight, all things considered. Just got stuck back in traffic and just hasn't had a good run at it tonight.
No, he hasn't, so we imagine that will put him down and out in this race. I think Ronnie Osmer still has a fast repair in his back pocket, but the one thing, Jacob, that I think even Mark alluded to when we were talking to him, our Tough Go in-race reporter, is the fact that with these Indy cars, that they can sustain so little damage before you have required repairs. We're running out of cars. We're at about 30 left right now. We're about a third of the way through this race, and we've dropped about a quarter of the field out of this one. So we're kind of running into that territory that Mark was talking about, that we're going to keep, or perhaps we've lost enough drivers now that there's really not a whole lot left, and who knows, we may be losing more. But, of course, we're starting to dwindle down the numbers here a little bit as we go along.
I think they'll still find a way to tear more stuff up. I mean, you've got a lot of guys. You got more than half the field that still has their fast repair. Well, maybe not half, but a third of the field that still has their fast repair. So we're not done wrecking yet. We're not even halfway. We're gonna be tearing some more stuff up here, I have a feeling.
We just might. You never know. I mean, every once in a while, it seems like in M&R that long green flag run that we often love to see sometimes comes when you least expect it. So you just never really know what's going to happen here. As we'll have a couple of drivers make their way down onto the pit lane. Corey Heim, Devin Henry, James Bickford, Adam Cabot, Seth Eggert, Nick Olson. Just a couple of the folks who decided to come down pit road right here as we run under lap 43 right now under the caution. We've also had a change in the ruling. Jacob, why don't you update us on it?
Josh Mendoza is putting his foot down. Single file restarts the rest of the way. They couldn't handle the double file, and I don't even know if we really had that much chaos directly on a restart, but they made the ruling. All right, enough carnage. We're doing single file restarts from here on out.
Well, can't say I disagree with that, honestly. I'm a fan.
And you can't pass before the start-finish line. So they have to remain single file till they get to the line. Then they can fan out, but you can't pass on the top. You can't pass on the bottom. You have to stay in line before you get to the start-finish line. Otherwise, you're going to get a black flag.
All right, so that is the change, or the rule change enacted by race control for the remainder of this race, or at least until they see fit to make it double file once again. They are still keeping the go as soon as the pace car dips down to the pit lane. So you see Colin Fern right now trying to build up a little bit of a gap between that pace car and his 86 IndyCar before we get this thing going once again. In the top 10 right now, it is Cummings, Cabri, Melillo, Balicki. Or excuse me, Fern, Fisher, Cummings, Cabri, Melillo, your top 5. Josh Balicki, Will Rogers, Stephen Ellis, Joey Padgett, your points leader, and Connor Berry, your top 10. Ford Martin just behind in 11th, Raja Caruth 12th, Bailey Turner 13th, Matt Stolnick in 14th, and David Schotehouse. Remember, he was involved in that incident on lap 1, turn 1, lost control of his race car. He is back up here in the 15th position. So we'll see if we can't get things going once again. Pace car is off. Colin Fern has control of the field. Not a great jump, probably the worst one we've seen from a leader thus far. Fern gets going, but here comes Michael Fisher looking to the bottom for the race lead into turn 1.
Michael Fisher may get busted. He pulled out a line before the line. Restarts under review. Michael Fisher might be going to the back of the field here, guys. I know he didn't pass him, but he pulled out a line before the start-finish line. By rule, you cannot do that. That is a penalty. So I would imagine he goes to the back. He's going to give up second to DJ Cummings here. More than likely, his penalty will involve a trip to pit road.
You can see one car spun in the back of the field, the inside of turn 2. We stay green. That was Dakota Curtis, who has lost a front wing on that race car. Does not have required repairs, so he may try to tough this one out on the racetrack right now. 3 wide into turn 1 as Cummings shoved up the middle of the racetrack. Chase Cabri not wasting any time, Jacob, trying to cut his way and carve his way through traffic.
Trying to get back up to the front as this right now, Colin Fern is scooting away from the rest of the field. The largest gap the leader has had all race long. The gap is almost 7/10 of a second, but Chase Cabri has been the fastest car of the day, and he's going to try and reel in the race leader in Colin Fern. Very little draft behind him as he's now starting to gap DJ Cummings a little bit from second.
Cummings falling back a little bit from Chase Cabri, who again pit on lap 31, so has the freshest tires up here at the front of the field. And right now, it is helping that number 39 car quite a bit to try and chase down your race leaders. Michael Fisher moves way up the hill in turn 2 and is going to lose a ton of time as a result. We are still awaiting word from the restart. And Michael Fisher, there it is, just as we were talking about it. Michael Fisher given a black flag for a restart violation, pulling out of line too soon, and he will have to serve that Jacob under green, and he may just do it now. He flinched as if he was going to come down pit road now, elects not to do it.
I think he thought about it and decided, yeah, that ain't going to work. I'm not going to be able to slow down in time. Meanwhile, Chase Cabri takes the lead from Colin Fern. Fern looks back to the inside. Cabri shuts the door, and that's going to allow Cabri to get back out in front of this field where he was to start this race. And now he's going to start to slither down the back straightaway like a snake, trying to get away from Colin Fern and DJ Cummings.
It's only going to be so successful, but you're going to see here in the corner those fresh tires, that clean air, really going to help Chase Cabri, who has made the bottom line work so well for him, and trying to keep Colin Fern, DJ Cummings at bay. Michael Fisher trying to plead his case right now in the restart that he stayed in line, or at least gave his spots back after he pulled out a line. And Colin Fern to the outside of turn 1 is going to get the job done. And oh boy, did Colin Fern show some speed there that I did not expect to see out of him.
Now here's the deal. Michael Fisher said, look, I gave the spots back. In fact, I gave up more than I had to. Josh Mendoza says, okay, clear the black flag. Michael Fisher's cleared a race. He's back right now in the 8th position.
All right, so a call right there as Fisher gives his advantage back and even gives back some more to try to make sure he's all okay with race officials. Looks like he is right now. Side by side for the race lead as Cabri once again will take it into turn 1. And that leaves Cummings and Fern side by side in 2. That almost comes to blows. Here comes Josh Balicki as Cummings tries to collect his race car. Josh Balicki up into 3rd.
Great job there by Balicki for not running DJ Cummings over. Cummings going to get the draft off the rear wing of that 77. He looks to the outside. He's going to try and take the position away once again. And there's almost contact. There is contact. Up the hill goes Cummings. He'll hold on to fourth. He'll keep all four wheels on the car. That allows Melillo to close the gap for fourth, as now Bilicki will start to pull away. Meanwhile, here comes Colin Fern looking for the lead around the outside.
I do not know how that ended up as well as it did for DJ Cummings. I thought he was sure enough going to get shunted there up into the outside wall. He somehow checks up, keeps his car under control, doesn't hit anything, and will stay in the fourth position. So a great job right there from Cummings to try and hang on. Meanwhile, back up front, these two continuing to go back and forth up here at the front of the field. Chase Cabry and Colin Fern, who Jacob, I think they're working together here. They're trying to kind of leapfrog each other, if you will, and break apart from Josh Bilicki right behind him. They're doing a good job of it right now. They're about 7/10 up. They have a little bit further to go to try and break away from third, but for right now, I'd say they're working pretty well together, your top two.
Well, and how about that move by Colin Fern? Made the pass on the inside. That's the first pass we've seen downstairs on Chase Cabry the entire race. So Colin Fern pulling no punches right now. This is allowing Bilicki to get back up into the picture. Now your top three going to start and try and pull away. Colin Fern out in front. Cabry will have the draft, and Josh Bilicki is not too far back. He could make this a three-car battle for the lead.
Three cars duking it up at the front here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've seen a little bit of green flag racing for this one. Oh, and they are 3 wide for the race lead. Here comes Josh Bilicki. Colin Fern backs out of it as Bilicki goes up into second. Now Fern and Bilicki once again side by side into turn number 2, but Bilicki made the move, and now the battle is on for second, and that has brought DJ Cummings right into the mix.
And that's allowed Chase Cabry to pull away by half a second, maybe more. Fern drives it in deep into turn number 3. He can't hold it down there. He has to lift. Bilicki takes over second. Here comes DJ Cummings. He goes around the outside for third. He will clear Colin Fern off turn number 4 as he drops back to fourth. And those old tires are finally starting to show their age as Josh Bilicki now tries to reel in the race leader in Chase Cabry.
You know, Jacob, the more we've watched this race and where drivers are able to make moves, how they're able to make some spot stoppage, we see two drivers making their way off of the apron as they just came down pit road under green. You have Will Rogers and Dakota Curtis, the two slow cars on the bottom there, making their way back onto the racetrack. So a little bit of strategy here further on back in the field. But looking at that outside line, how well it's able to work, we've seen a lot of passes out there, and it looks very viable, being able to pitch that car down on the bottom. I think those drivers, Jacob, they're starting to put that in the memory bank and starting to put together that, hey, maybe that second lane, if everybody's going to go down there and protect the bottom, you can make moves just like this up to the race lead like Josh Bilicki is doing.
And he comes from the back to the front. And Eric Estep right now looking like a genius. Pick driver number 77 to go to the front. And that's where he is right now. Josh Bilicki, the leader of the Next Level Racing 125 here at Indy. Here comes DJ Cummings. He's looking for second. He'll go around the outside of Chase Cabry. He'll get the job done. He'll take over P number 2.
The other thing I think we're learning here, Jacob, is kind of picking up on what you said earlier about fresh tires not being the end-all, be-all. They are important, but Colin Fern did not pit on the same cycle as Cummings, as Josh Bilicki, as Chase Cabry, and yet he is still competitive, albeit the draft's helping him a little bit. He's still able to maintain pace with these guys. So I don't know how much those new tires are going to factor, how long fresh tires have an advantage, but it's not near as important as I thought it would be. As you can see on board right here, Chase Cabry, big run down the back straightaway as Bilicki down on the inside trying to pass DJ Cummings for the top spot.
Yeah, and with these guys side by side, that's going to open up the door, Blake, for Chase Cabry in that third spot. Cummings right on the back door. Now he peeks to the inside, side by side for the lead. Move DJ Cummings out into position number 1. Josh Bilicki hanging on his outside. They're wheel to wheel coming off turn number 1. Bilicki has a run. He'll look to hold on to that outside line. Drives it in deep. So does Cummings down in the bottom. They're still side by side off turn 2.
separated by just 2 1/1000ths of a second that last time across the stripe. Give it to the car number 79 in Josh Bilicki, who is trying his best to hang on and lead yet another lap. Somebody that is starting to make their way through the field, though, here, Jacob, started in 40th, and really this run was back in about 15th or so on the restart. Raja Karuth is up in the 9th, and he is making time up on your race leaders as they continue to jockey for position. Half a second is what Karuth made up that last time. So Raja Karuth in 7th and started to make some ground up as we have more takers on pit road. Colin Fern and Michael Fisher.
Here comes DJ Cummings round the outside for the lead. Once again, he's got it going into turn number 3. Can't quite get underneath and block the 77 of Josh Bilicki. Now he can, coming off turn number 3. Move DJ Cummings out in front. He takes the lead here in Indianapolis, but Bilicki's not done yet, as Justin Malillo will bring Joey Padgett and himself to pit road.
So we are starting to see these drivers who stayed out a little bit later on having to cycle back through and make up some time. I'd love to know the difference in lap times right now between some of those who have stayed out and those who have pit, and whether they're going to make up some time here, how this fuel strategy is going to work, because we're in the midst of our longest green flag run of the night, and it seems like it's a theme every single time we watch these cars race at Indy, Jacob. Fuel mileage, when you pit, when you decide to come down. We saw everybody protecting their track position a little bit earlier on, the Colin Ferns and whatnot of the world. Don't know if that's quite panning out now. I don't think they predicted that we'd have a run like this, but it's starting to play out and starting to play into the benefit of those drivers who elected to come down at the right time.
When Colin Fern just got lapped, the leaders blew right on by. Justin Malillo is about to get lapped right now. He is within a couple of car lengths of your race leader, Josh Bilicki. He's been able to pull away from DJ Cummings because of the lap car of Colin Fern and getting by him. Caution is out. Trouble coming off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Nick Olson, Preston Pardis. A huge crash. Leighton Sabile involved in this one, and once again, Blake, it's Leighton Sabile losing the car on corner exit. Oh my gosh! Nick Olson. Watkins Glen 2009.
Oh,
wow.
No. So you see Sabile into the outside wall, and oh my goodness, what an impact. It just throws Olson's car right across the track.
Not only he takes the Preston Pardis machine to the face pretty much with the aero screen, and then breaks the right front suspension, can't turn back up the racetrack, and a horrific shot to the inside wall. This caution saves, though, Colin Fern, since he's your free pass, right on board, and look out. Oh, man, the Brad Keselowski wall is what he got down there. Remember when he almost flipped it, or did flip it? Hitting those tires, man, oh man.
And he had no control either after he made just a little bit of contact with Leighton Sabile. That was it. He had no control. He could not steer that car. Runs right into that. Luckily, I mean, coming back across the track, if anything, the speed with which he hit that inside wall was a blessing for Gary Sexton and Ronnie Osmer, who ended up making their way by because of the speed that Olson carried off of the wall. But it has thrown things into chaos here in the middle of green flag pit stops, but not if you're Josh Bilicki, DJ Cummings, or Chase Cabry, who run in your top 3 and now have their opportunity to try and make their way down to the pit lane here, as we are really just at the halfway point of this one.
How about Justin Malillo here, Blake? He is the luckiest man on the face of the earth. The caution came out right before he got lapped. He's able to get around the rest of the field. He stays out. Justin Malillo is your race leader on just 3 lap older tires than everybody else who just came onto pit road now. DJ Cummings, by the way, winning the race off pit road. There you see Justin Malillo, the guy that said he would lick a battery if he went to victory lane, now that Interstate Batteries is the title sponsor for the series. And tonight's as good a night as ever to make it happen.
Well, and I think it works twofold for him. He's going to be able to trap a couple of cars a lap down here, Ryan Vargas and Jordan Buster, who want to take the wave around. But Melillo's, I would say he's probably going to stay out here, so they're not going to have the opportunity to do that. And at least by IndyCar rules, I'm not sure if it's any different here, Jacob, they would restart Vargas and Buster would at the front of the field behind Melillo, although right now I see Vargas and Buster being waved by Melillo to be able to take the wave around. So I guess we'll get a little bit of an update on that in just a moment. Let's see if maybe we can't catch up with Justin Melillo. I know right now, pretty excited to be running at the front of the field. He's been awfully competitive all night long here tonight. So let's see if maybe we can't catch a word with him. Justin Melillo, Blake McCandless up in the M&R booth. You got us?
Hey, what's going on, Blake?
All right, Justin. Well, I know you're doing well. You're up here at the front of the field. You've been running up front here for a good majority of it. Seems like that 53 car has got some pace. Where do you really find your comfort level? I know a lot of these combinations that have a lot of high speed, we always seem to talk about that 53 car being right in the thick of things.
Well, I do love the IndyCar in general. It's one of my favorite cars on the service. I've run the Indy 500, both the fixed and the open, for the official series for the last couple of years, and I've won it a couple times. I got a certificate behind me, so I love this combination. I feel like it's more of a strategy, a chess game, and I can definitely strategize myself into a good position there. And I knew I had to get ahead of the leader there out of the pits, and I managed to do that. I got a really lucky caution, so we're gonna see what we can do here.
How does that lucky caution set you up to the end? I know strategy a big part of things, and now that we're starting to see some green flag runs, how did this set you up to the end?
We'll have to see. I'm not quite sure how it's going to set everybody up. I don't think anybody can make it on one more stop unless they start saving now. So we'll just have to see. I don't think we're going to make it anyway, as far as that's concerned, but we'll just have to see.
All right, Justin Melillo, we'll just have to see. Well, good luck to you. You're about to come up on the restart and take the lead, so have some fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sounds like a pretty confident race car driver, if I'd say so myself, Jacob. Is Melillo going to lead them to the green flag here at Indianapolis? And boy, does he get a good jump to boot. Has fresh tires up front and nothing to worry about, but about 30 some odd cars in their rear view mirror trying to chase him down. Green flag is back out here on lap 64.
Man, they are stacking up in the back of the pack. I'm not sure what the deal was back there, but they're able to keep it straight, at least for now. Melillo out in front, and he's driving with the rear view mirror. Pretty much, that's what he's looking at more than out the front windshield. Here comes DJ Cummings to the outside. He is almost clear for the lead. Here comes Melillo fighting back on the bottom. The left side tires underneath the white line. Wheel to wheel coming through turns 3 and now turn 4. Melillo has the advantage. He's clear for the race lead.
A lot of space given between these two. DJ Cummings trying to make up all the ground he can, but here comes a big run from Josh Bilicki, who's going to split the gap and look to go 3 wide for just a moment. He'll back out before they get to the apex of the corner, so Bilicki will try it once again to build up a run here on the back straightaway. Cummings still trying to make that move on the top side. Josh Bilicki, here comes the run for car 79.
Trouble, turn 2. Case Kallenbach, Jordan Buster. Couple more cars involved. Corey Heim, Michael Fisher. It was a car down on the apron. Devin Henry came back up across the racetrack. And actually, guys checking up and not checking up there is what caused all that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So Devin Henry ran into the wall off of turn 2, gets out of shape. Hard hit in the inside wall, completely destroys the entire nose of his race car. So he's down there on the bottom. He's all by his lonesome, and you're exactly right. The reaction to that by a couple of other drivers is what really did them in. Looking at Devin Henry, we've seen how these cars kind of ricochet or trampoline across the racetrack when they get into an accident. And it was Corey Heim that slowed up for it, and it didn't look like Joey Padgett did a whole lot of slowing down there. He runs right into the back of Corey Heim, collects Michael Fisher and a couple of others.
Man, oh man. Well, I've lost track at this point, Blake, of cautions. I'll figure it out here shortly, though. As long as I count everything correctly this time. But man, oh man, it's been a day.
Yes, it has. And, well, we still gone just past halfway. We'll see how many drivers that this latest wreck kind of takes out of contention. It's probably worth mentioning we've had a couple additions, a couple of names added to that list of drivers who are behind the wall and likely will not be seeing their way back out onto the racetrack. I believe Nick Olson is done. He is right now 35th, 7 laps down. Leighton Sabile, obviously involved in 2 crashes of his own doing, will finish in 33rd and will not do me any good service here, Jacob, when it comes to the pick. The lap and just a pair of cars rather, and Devin Henry and Joey Patchett, who are a lap down. I think Patchett may also be done here, Jacob. He was involved in his second incident, so I don't think it can work for Joey Patchett to get back out there, and I believe Devin Henry may be in the same situation as well.
That's kind of the way it looks here, but well, okay, Corey Heim. Bold statement in the iRacing chat saying, worst M&R race ever. I ain't buying that one. We're far from that point, I think, Blake. You were here for Gateway last year.
Yeah, I was about to say
that's easily top 5, if not the top.
I would venture to say, so what? This is my second season in the broadcast booth for Monday Night Racing, and I would have to say that easily about trumps anything else I've done as far as bad races are concerned. Well, because it's evidenced by the fact that we had a green flag run in this race. We've had one. That was more than we ever got at Gateway.
Yeah. Well, and we had lap cars wrecking leaders, and Landon Huffman tossing himself out of the league, taking out Bailey Turner, and yeah, that was a hot mess. But hey, so far, knock on wood, we're just past halfway. We're doing good here. Okay, better here than we were at Gateway, but it's still a long way to go, and we'll see what these guys can do here the rest of the way.
We'll see what they can do. Again, this is what happens when Brett Baldeck doesn't make it to the race, Just goes to chaos, right?
Well, no, wait. I thought he was in the... Oh, no, that's right. I forgot. He said he couldn't make it tonight. I was thinking he was in the... in the qualifying session for tonight, but he was not.
Well, I know he's that forgettable, but, you can pay attention a little bit, Jacob.
All right.
Oh, boy. Well, all right. Pace car, the lights are off, and we are set to get rolling once again here from Indy on lap 68. Justin Melillo will lead us to lap 69, and we are back underway here at Indy.
Oh, DJ Cummings with a big block on Malicki. Malicki goes to the outside. Cabry goes to the bottom. Oh, and now Cabry spins in front of the field. A hard crash into the outside wall. He collects Ronnie Osmer. He collects Corey Heim. No, Bailey Turner, I think. Yes, that's Bailey Turner. Reed Wilson gets a piece of this. Another horrible crash in turns 1 and 2, and this time the dominant car of the day in Chase Cabry goes around, and it piles 3 more with it.
And that was once again just a self-spin. You can see Cabry loses control, gets down onto the apron, and from there he is just along for the ride. A hard hit for him. He tabs Raja Caruth, a couple of others, Reed Wilson, Bailey Turner, several more. We haven't really seen a crash of this magnitude in about 30 or 40 laps or so. This one took out a lot of drivers and a lot of front runners at the front of this field. Gary Sexton, he's been avoiding a lot of crashes today. He's barely able to scrape on by, no harm done. See, further back in the field, it looked like everybody was able to get checked up fairly well. But we're starting to run into that situation, Jacob. A lot of these cars, they don't have a fast repair left. Chase Cabry certainly does, but a couple in this wreck certainly do not. And man, that was a tough wreck for a lot of drivers. And again, just a self-spin. Cabry has been fast all night, but that is how these Indy cars can humble you. They can just snap on you when you least expect it.
Yeah, and Cabri had been running that line the whole night. That was the first time that he had gone down there. Maybe just got a little bit too low and got a piece of the curbing, and that curbing is lethal in these Indy cars. And, of course, that was Raja Karuth that got tipped in that, not Ronnie Osmer, as I said in the live call, and he took a whale of a shot to the back end first and then took a hard shot to the inside wall. Bailey Turner got in it. Reed Wilson had nowhere to go but pile on in. And it's just been one of those nights so far in this race, as I believe we're on caution number 9 right now, Blake.
That is the case. Caution flag number 9 here on lap 69. And Reed Wilson, he's trying his best, Jacob, with his damage. He can barely, he can't steer that car. He wants to do everything he can to avoid taking a tow, but unfortunately you can see the steering is completely broken on that car. He can't hit the brakes. He's trying to let everybody know. He's saying go on by, but this is kind of one of those cases that maybe the tow would be a better option at this point. He's trying to make it work, try to get back to the pit stall before the fast repair kicks in. Or no, he missed his stall. He's trying to back up.
Yeah, he drove by it, and then when he got on the brakes, it kicked him sideways. And that's the bigger issue. And that's what happens when you only have really 2 working wheels. As he's still trying. And now I think he finally got it in the box. Yeah, the clock's rolling. So he's okay, and he should be able to get that thing fixed. Problem is, he's already used his fast repair. So he's pretty much got to fix all that damage by himself.
Well, again, after running these Indy cars enough, when you have certain types of damage, the sim, it's not like the NASCAR Cup cars or Xfinity cars where occasionally you can look up and see a ridiculous number. You can see 321 hours of repairs. They'll do it. If you sit there that long, that car will get fixed. Unfortunately, here in the Indy cars, there is definitely a point of no return where they say, guess what, we're not going to be able to fix that. You're just going to have to go on home. So I think a number of drivers experiencing that right now. Raja Karuth is 2 laps down. Bailey Turner 2 laps down. Reed Wilson, and then Corey Heim. He was involved in back-to-back wrecks. He was having a pretty quiet evening, but was running up in about the top 10 or so, and he got in back-to-back wrecks, and that'll be the end of the night for Corey Heim, who of course still has a win to look forward to and locking his way into the round of 12 here in Season 6. The Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries is brought to you by Interstate Batteries. Built to top industry standards, Interstate Batteries has been the technician's choice for 9 years and counting. Powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses and backed up by more than 150,000 dealers around the world, as well as 200 all Battery Center franchise stores, Interstate seeks to deliver the most trustworthy source of power to the world every single day. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable and proud partner of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Lights are off on the pace car, and I have to say, when you talk about strategy and making that work, it has certainly worked out here. Jacob, for Justin Melillo, caught the caution when he needed to, and even has caught a few more that has kept him up here at the front of the field. You can see his car all the way against the outside retaining wall in turn number 4, and the pace car dives off. Melillo will get us back underway.
Something interesting I noticed there, and I don't know if we mentioned it or caught it, but Blake was using the access road under caution there. My guess is saving fuel down there. It's flat, trying to save as much fuel as he can just in case. Remember, he said he doesn't think anybody can make it on one more stop unless they started saving after they pitted there. So maybe Justin's trying to save and try and make this work, especially under these cautions. Here comes DJ Cummings around the outside looking for the lead.
Well, I know one thing that'll help Jacob if he wants to try and accomplish that goal, if he's trying to save some fuel, probably one of the best things he can do is give up the race lead. That would probably be the best solution for him, and you can see he's not going to put up much of a fight here. DJ Cummings around the outside trying to take the lead into turn number 1, and I think if Cummings was a little more aggressive, he could really pinch that car.
Oh, trouble coming off turn 1. Connor Berry goes around. Single car spin, down on the apron. Don't think he had any contact. He spins it around again, down on the apron. We will stay green as Connor Berry got a little too high and got too wide right in front of Stephen Ellis.
And doesn't look like a whole lot of damage off of the corner. You see him crossing the yard of bricks. Right here, Connor Berry into turn 1. I don't think he gets any help with this. He's right in front of that yellow car, just slides up the racetrack, and he may have gotten a little bit of contact as he slid up. Looks like he checked up, but still green, and he spins again. He spins into turn 3, hard to the outside wall. This will come with some damage. Something broke on that car. He was not able to control it into turn 3. He has since called a tow truck, so a second incident for Barry, not around anybody, and we stay under the green flag. So a tough sequence of events for Connor Berry. 2 spins and a tow, as he did not want to affect the race leaders, and he is right now sitting on pit road.
And it's a great job there by Barry to at least get off the racetrack, get out of the way, not try and struggle, knowing the leaders are coming there. There's a great job of just, all right, I'll take the L, I'll lose the laps, I'll move on. Meanwhile, for the lead, DJ Cummings, Josh Bilicki going at it, and right now Justin Melillo taking the advice. He'll take P3, kind of use the draft and try and save as much fuel as he can.
Side by side for the race lead, and as you mentioned, Melillo trying to hang back, save a little bit. Behind this battle, though, how about we give it on to Matt Staldnick, running up here in the 4th position, trying to chase down these race leaders. Even Steven Ellis doing a solid job up here in the top 5. With some of this attrition, Jacob, I think this is a real opportunity race for, just like any other race in the regular season, an opportunity to lock yourself into the round of 12. And these drivers, I think, can sense that some of our front runners that we typically see at the front, well, they're out of this race, or they're not in contention. They have damage or several laps down. This is a chance for somebody that may be on the outside or just inside that top 35 to have an opportunity to win. And we know strategy is going to play a part in that.
No doubt about it, as they're still just wheel to wheel up here at the front between Bilicki and DJ Cummings. And you have to keep in mind, as we ride on board with Melillo, you're exactly right. Not only are points up for grab at the front of the point standings, but at that top 35, as you mentioned, that is huge. If you're able to get inside the top 35, that means you are already locked in to the next week. If you're not in the top 35, you have to qualify your way in, and that's really difficult.
There we go! They wreck for the race lead. Cummings into the outside wall. He hangs on, and I don't think he's going to get a caution. He is out of control and cannot steer that race car. No caution after Bilicki and Cummings make contact. I believe, Jacob, that Bilicki may have slipped up just a little bit on the inside. We'll get another look at it right here.
Well, if you watch Bilicki's line, he pulls out, he drives it in really deep, and he's halfway on the apron. Yeah. He has to move up. He drove it in way too deep. There was a little bit of net code there that made that contact, but they would have hit either way. And how about Justin Melillo just being able to sneak through that wreck? Oh, by the way, Bailey Turner has parked the car, so add that car to the scrap yard. He is done for the night, and there is a new leader, Justin Melillo, back out in front.
Not only that, it wasn't just Melillo. Steven Ellis had a pretty close call there with DJ Cummings. So a couple of incidents that have not put us under the yellow flag. So Cummings will have to take a tow. We stay green. An update on Connor Berry in the 0-2 machine. He is back out onto the racetrack. He took his tow. He took his fast repair. And he is now 27th, 2 laps down. We're back out and running on the racetrack. So Connor Berry, the night is not over for him. But, man, a lot happening here, Jacob. And, again, as we continue to spread out, this is kind of what we might see. A lot more green flag runs and a lot of incidents that may not warrant a caution flag.
How about this battle for second? Here comes Stallneck to the inside as we ride on board. Oh, back here, a lot of, this is Ronnie Osmer. Back here with Alex LeBay and Josh Slate. As Stallneck, he moves his way into second. As, well, right now, Josh Bilicki trying to hold on to third. Here comes the Menards car, Steven Ellis.
So much shuffling throughout the field, and Osmer has been somebody who's had to, I feel like he's had to race his way up through the field a couple of times, fell a couple laps down, and has the speed to be running up front. He's done a solid job. You can see a little bit of a smirk right there. Ford Martin has definitely had one of his better runs in the last couple of seasons here at Indianapolis. He knows he has a chance to try to lock into the playoffs right here, and looks to have the speed to try to get by for 4th. As he and Steven Ellis duke it out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Bilicki in front of him. I don't know if Bilicki is...
Bilicki, yeah. He had an issue.
I don't know if he's feeling bad after the contact or what the deal is, but he has really dropped off since the contact he made there with DJ Cummings that turned him around. I don't think there's that much damage to Bilicki's car. I don't think that's the issue. I think he's just maybe thinking about strategy and trying to save a lot, but there's something going on there with that 79.
No damage to the side pods, no wing damage. There is a call from race control, and Jacob, I don't know if I've seen this before, so Josh Bilicki was given a cause of incident on lap 78. Now, no caution flag, but I don't know if I've seen that before in M&R where somebody was given cause for an incident that did not bring out a caution flag. So Josh Bilicki, I think, kind of just giving way. He may serve a black flag penalty? I'm not quite sure. New rule is what I'm being told from Josh Mendoza.
Yeah, so this is something that they put in place, I think, after the first week or after the second week. I know they did it at the Daytona Road Course, which I don't think you were here for. So that explains why you wouldn't have known about it. But, yeah, if you do something that causes an incident that prevents you from or that doesn't bring out a caution flag, you could still get busted for it. And I think that's the deal there with Bilicki. He does have a black flag. He just got disqualified. Josh Bilicki just got DQ'd. Now, Josh Mendoza just cleared his black flag. I'm not sure. He should be able to get back on the racetrack, but Bilicki got a penalty for the incident. He never served it. It never got cleared. So Bilicki now is sitting on pit road. That's why Bilicki was losing spots. He was trying to get this black flag cleared, and he took him too long. It didn't. Oh, Josh never gave him a black flag. Well, then how in the world did he get a black flag? Oh, Josh thinks he had a meatball. Wow. Unreal.
Man. A lot of drama here, Jacob. So,
wowza.
So Bilicki was that fast with a meatball flag. That's something that I don't think I would have expected, but nevertheless, All right, so a lot going on here in this race. So Bilicki will go a lap down. He did get back out onto the track. He's sitting in his pit stall right now. They serviced his car. And so he will be in 23rd, one lap down. Meanwhile, up front, it is still Justin Melillo, Matt Stallneck, Steven Ellis, your top three. Ronnie Osmer has found his way up into the fourth position. And Ford Martin, along with Osmer, they've kind of worked together a little bit to try and chase down some of your front runners here.
And Josh Bilicki just got back onto the racetrack as we ride on board here with the... be perfectly honest, I'm not quite sure who that is. I think that's LeBay. Yep. LeBay coming off turn number 2 back here in this 7th spot.
LeBay in 7th. You see Bilicki right there on your screen. He just came back up out onto the racetrack. He has currently scored 2 laps down. So didn't just lose 1, lost 2. He may lose a 3rd lap here when timing and scoring refreshes. So we can kind of reset things here. Melillo, Stallneck, Ellis, and Osmer, along with Ford Martin, your top 5. David Schoedhaus, who was involved in that lap 1 incident. He was your winner last week at Texas Motor Speedway. He runs in the 6th position. Alex LeBay, as we just mentioned, in 7th. Colin Fern, 8th. Presley Sora. Haven't really heard from Presley Sora, Jacob, since he had that penalty on the initial start of the race. And he is... back up in 9th. So Presley Sora, a quiet little drive through the field, and Ryan Vargas, haven't talked a lot about the Charlotte Phoenix creator, Xfinity driver, but he runs in the top 10.
Well, it helps when a lot of guys have had issues that have been in front of them tonight. And, they've been just making their way up through the field. Somebody we really haven't talked about. Trouble! That's Steven Ellis around, coming off turn 1. In the short chute, there was contact between him and Ronnie Osmer. Single car spin. We stay green. That was really close, I think, to being a caution just because it was in the racing line. But we stay under green. You'll see the contact. Ellis takes a higher line. Osmer takes the bottom. And Osmer can't hold on, and he gets up into the 56, or the 46 rather, and turns him up into the wall. A great run for Steven Ellis, gone up in flames.
Ford Martin did a heck of a job missing that one.
What I was going to mention, though, before that I saw the smoke, David Schoenhaus. Remember him? He wrecked lap 1. He's back up into the top 6 right now. Was up inside the top 5 before that contact happened.
And again, another cause of incident right there, being charged to Ronnie Osmer despite the fact that a caution was not thrown.
And remember, you get 8 incident caused points out of the entire season. So after you hit 8, you're done for the rest of the year. So some guys are doing better than others. If you've caused 5 incidents by this point in the season, you may be packing your bags a little bit early on. If this is your first, you're still sitting okay as Osmer sends it in deep on Alex Labay and takes over that 4th spot. Labay staying right on his rear wing, though, coming through turn 2. Now Osmer starts to pull away.
When I look at this fuel window, Jacob, and we've had some drivers that pit at lap 61, we're nearly a lap 90 now. We heard Justin say earlier he doesn't think that anybody can make it on one stop. But you also have to keep in mind, Justin pit 3 laps before anybody else because he pit under green, stayed on the lead lap, and then got that caution immediately. So if I'm a Matt Stolnick, if I'm a Ford Martin, you may be sitting in a better spot here than Justin Melillo if you can try to one-stop this race to the end.
Well, but I think that's why Justin was saving as much as he was under the cautions, is because he knew, okay, I'm on a little less fuel than everybody else. I got to save so I can catch up to them a little bit, so that way I can still relatively be in their window that I might be able to make it on one more stop. I think that's what he was trying to do, and that's why he's not too worried at this point about being out in front of this field, even though Matt Stolnick has started to reel him in, though, and I'm sure he won't complain about any draft. I think that's what Justin's thinking.
Yeah, it has to be, because if he were trying to save, he would not be up where he is right now. He would not be in the race lead. So he's completely going off of something else. Now, on the flip side, if you're Matt Stolnick or if you're in Ford Martin, yeah, this is great. You get guaranteed draft, a little bit of better fuel mileage. So this is working out almost perfectly if you're Matt or Ford or even Ronnie Osmer, who was tagged for a cause of incident, but wasn't penalized any further because of it. Just a strike against the caution count or the cause count on the evening.
That's it. So, and remember, you caused 2 in a night, you're parked. I don't think anybody, I think Nick Olson's the only guy that's gotten close to hitting 2, and I think he did hit 2, but his car was broke, so it didn't necessarily matter at that point. But your top 5 starting to accordion together here. Blake Stolnick staying relatively the same distance from Melillo. That's allowed Ford to close in. Osmer's closing in. Labay is closing in. And, oh, by the way, Presley Sora's now up to 6th. He has caught this battle as well.
They've definitely slowed the pace at the front of the field these last couple of laps, whether that's Justin backing it down, trying to save, whether that's a couple of other drivers behind him not really electing to go by. It's definitely cooled off a little bit at the front of the field in terms of pace, and with that, you're starting to see an influx of drivers who are starting to work within 2 seconds of the race leader. Alex Labay is there. Presley Sora is a part of this battle now. Colin Fern isn't far behind. David Schoenhaus, who was in 6th, he's lost a couple of positions, but again, I think this is a strategy play by a number of these drivers to not really contest these positions. As long as they have draft, they're okay. Hearing the call right now, Jacob, Justin Melillo is pitting this time, and that would make it 42 laps, 41 after he comes out to try and make it to the end. That might be pushing it on fuel.
It's going to be tough. If he gets a caution, though, within the next 5 laps, kind of like what happened the last time, he's going to be okay, but he's got to rely on that caution, I would think, to be really safe. There it is! Caution's out! Josh Slayton, Seth Eggert have crashed in turn 3.
And this could not have worked out better for Melillo, who's going to come off of pit road on the lead lap, and now he's going to be on the same cycle as everybody. So Justin Melillo, I'm going to ask him for some lottery numbers tonight. That worked out perfectly for him.
Wow, and these guys just got together and then couldn't get unhooked. Wow. Unbelievable.
I think that's a case where Slate thought he was clear because he was carrying a lot of speed, and I mean, Eggert held his line. He did not move in that corner. I think Slate just expected to be ahead of Seth Eggert by the time they reached the center of the corner. Was not the case. So unfortunately there, both drivers required repairs on both of those machines. I believe Eggert may have a fast repair, though, left. Not so sure about Josh Slate.
All right, well, everybody's going to be pitting here, I would think, other than Melillo. And that's going to turn this thing into a ball game here. You get one more caution, and I would think you'd be able to save enough to make it to the end with that caution. Under green, though, I still think a good number of these guys would be able to save enough to make it if they can't make it without saving.
Now, one thing I will say about the IndyCar and saving fuel and shutting the motor off and everything. So pretty much the iRacing way to do things is you run your anti-stall on. So that way you can't stall the car. You can turn it on, and why wouldn't you have it on in iRacing, right? It's just too much of an advantage, and if you're clutching, you're shutting the motor off and everything. It's just something extra that you don't have to worry about. This IndyCar, if you're going slow enough and you shut the motor off, I mean, we see it in real life where a lot of drivers stall cars on pit road in IndyCar. I wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody, if this is really going to come down to fuel mileage while we're pacing around under caution here. The anti-stall won't save you if you're going slow enough and you shut off this IndyCar. So I wonder if somebody's going to fall victim to that maybe we see somebody who just stops randomly, and that may be the cause of it. It's tough with these IndyCars, a little bit different than everything else that you can run on iRacing.
The old Marcus Ambrose, except you're not trying to save fuel while going up a hill.
Exactly.
Yep. So Melillo out in front of everybody else. Stallneck wins the race off pit road. Then it's Ronnie Osmer, Presley Sora, Ford Martin, Colin Fern, your top 5 off pit road. Of course, we'll need to drop them back a spot, so Fern will restart in the 6th position. And now they're trying to sort out who gets a wave around here based off of where Melillo is at on the racetrack.
Looks like a couple of drivers are going to be able to go around Justin Melillo. So Carruth, Connor Berry, I think Josh Balicki may be in there. He may be able to wave around the pace car. They'll all go back to 1 lap down. The lucky dog, looks like it was Michael Fisher, I believe, was the lucky dog, the free pass on this latest caution. So Fisher in the 96 is back on the lead lap. So we got our wrecking out of the weight jacket, but I would say the latter half of this race has been pretty entertaining. We've had a lot going on. We've had a couple of incidents, but for the most part, this second half has really outshone the first half of this race. It was a little rough there for a little while.
It's gotten a little bit cleaner. We've had less cautions, but I feel like we've had the same amount of incidents. We just haven't had cautions for them. But it's still been enough chaos to keep us on the edge of our seat. It hasn't been, boring and nobody can pass, but it also hasn't been a complete train wreck with cars wrecking every lap. So we've been able to get it going here, I think, to a pretty nice pace, and we're going to have 21 cars on the lead lap here for the restart. Chase Cabry is the first car 1 lap down. DJ Cummings, Rajah Carruth, Connor Berry, all still a lap down. Now, these guys actually just got the wave. So I think with where they're at, no, I'm pretty sure they are still a lap down with where they're at. They just got waved, but they only got 1 back. They're still going to be 1 down, most of these guys are.
Yeah, so they'll need a little bit more to get back on the lead lap. Grid Rival is the most in-depth fantasy motorsports manager game on the planet, and Grid Rival is full of engaging features that bring a new level of engagement to your favorite racing series. Grid Rival is proud to support Monday Night Racing, and of course you can check out the Grid Rival app in the App Store if you're on iPhone, or Google Play if you are on an Android. And a lot of odds made of this race, but I don't think the odds had Justin Melillo as a potential favorite to win this race. Green flag is back out with just a bit over 25 laps to go in this one.
Oh, man, Colin Fern drove it in deep into turn number 1. Ford Martin was able to shut the door. That was for position number 5. Melillo gets away out in front. He's your leader. Stallneck is in second. Then you've got Ronnie Osmer, Presley Sora, Ford Martin, your top 5. As here comes Stallneck. He looks to the outside. Melillo covers the spot into 3.
You're not really going to have to be worrying about fuel mileage at this point. I think you're well within your range to try to make it to the end. Oh, Osmer tight off of turn 4. Collected that car back up, but he about shoved up the racetrack and into the outside retaining wall. Instead, he runs down your race leader in Justin Melillo with Matt Stallneck. And Osmer, I'll tell you what, I don't know if that's something where he gets a little bit tight. I think he's just legitimately, Jacob, trying to run that high up. He's trying to get a little bit of clean air on the nose of his car.
I think some of it is running that high up, but I also think it's the dirty air. He's just not quite used to running in the draft with these guys, because remember, we've seen it happen a couple of times tonight where he's underneath somebody and he washes up the racetrack and gets into him. And I think that's just because he drives it in thinking it's going to be able to stick, and then the aero push has a different story for him and he goes up the hill. So that's something that he's got to keep in mind here for these last 25 laps.
And by the way, Seth Eggert has pulled it behind the wall. He did not have a fast repair left. So tough sledding for that 57 car. He is behind and will finish unofficially in the 27th position. And tough there for Seth Eggert. You can see them snaking down the back straightaway, all still trying to chase your race leader in Justin Melillo. He has a little bit of drafting help too, Jacob. I think that's Raja Caruth who's a little just up the road.
Just going to point that out. Raja Caruth pitted as they were to the green flag on the restart. Not quite sure why. Remember, he's a lap down, so he's trying not to become 2 laps down. He came out pretty much right in front of Justin Melillo, and that's helped Melillo break away from the lead, but it's also going to help him save fuel if he needs to at this point, because he has the draft. He's not quite pulling the train along like he would be without Raja Caruth in front of him.
Now, would that be legal to take the wave around, and then as you're getting the wave around to pit here at this racetrack? Because I mean, it's possible, but I don't know if that I don't know if that's against the rules or not. I would think that it might be.
I'm the wrong guy to ask, Blake.
And I would only know, full disclosure here, because I tried it in a league race and I got caught. So I'm just speaking from experience here, but it's working out for Melillo. Because of it, he's able to pull away from Matt Stallneck nearly a second, so he has some draft in front of him. Caruth is pulling him up, and meanwhile, he is pulling away from the rest of the field in Matt Stallneck, Ronnie Osmer.
Raja Caruth comes out of the radio and says, trying to keep my race alive. And Justin just told him, look, I'm not going to pass you. I don't need to pass you. And I think Raja just got the message like, okay, we'll hook up then. We'll stay to the front that way. Trouble off turn 4. Will Rogers into the inside wall. He got loose coming off the corner, slams head onto the inside wall, and he brings it straight to pit road. We stay green.
Off the racing surface, Rogers had been running just around the top 10 each time we looked at the leaderboard these last couple of laps around. And yeah, you could see we've seen this so many times, Jacob. A innocent self-spin, you just get a little bit too much air on that nose. And I'd like to think, Jacob, again, we are on fixed setups here, but these Indy cars, they have more...
Oh, trouble again off turn 4. This time it's Ronnie Osmer. He spins it onto pit road. Another single car spin. He saves it. He's going to have to clear a black flag for speeding onto pit road for short. No, he doesn't get a black flag for speeding onto pit road. Nonetheless, he loses all that track position he had. 3rd place out the door for Ronnie Osmer.
Yeah, and he's going to pit. I mean, why not? And this was unintentional. We'll get one more look at it on board. Gets a little tight. Oh, he tagged the wall right there. Yeah, and boy, I mean, that is some driving right there. Wrecking into pit road. You have damage on the car, and he made it down to the pit lane without crashing. I mean, that is simply unbelievable.
And if you're Justin Melillo, you're a nervous wreck, thinking, please don't wreck, please don't wreck, please stop wrecking, as these guys come off turn number 4. He's got 20 laps to go out in front. And here comes Matt Stallneck, though. He is starting to close in ever so slightly on that 53.
Well, you know what? So Raja Carruth just got a drafting partner because Osmer just left the pit lane. So now Carruth has some draft in front of him, which in turn is going to help Melillo just that extra bit more. So Melillo really not in a bad spot here, but as you mentioned, Stallneck has continued to reel him in lap after lap. It was down to about half a second this time down the front stretch. Oh, he stretched it 2.5 tenths. So Ronnie Osmer coming off of pit lane, another, I mean, I don't know if there's a race strategy-wise that could work more perfectly than it is right now for Melillo. He gets lap cars when he needs it. He gets cautions when he needs it. Could the stars finally align for Justin Melillo?
Well, and how about the battle for second? Because Osmer went away. That got rid of Stallneck's drafting help. Presley Sora is all over him like a cat on Velcro right now, trying to take this second position away. He looks to the inside. He looks to the outside. Stallneck shuts the door on all sides. Melillo gets by Osmer. We look out the back end of Matt Stallneck looking toward Presley Sora. Sora gets close, but he just can't get by looking to turn one.
Yeah, you can see Sora doing what Osmer was doing a little bit earlier. He's trying to go high and get a little bit of clean air on the nose of his car because through the corner right now, it is just too much for Matt Stallneck. Now, if you're Presley Sora, though, you have to get this pass done quickly or else you're going to let Melillo, Carruth, Osmer, you're going to let them drive away. If you spend too long battling Stallneck, you're going to lose that draft. It's not going to help you at all. But right now, Sora, I think he's just kind of getting stalled out by the dirty air of Matt Stallneck.
And I think right now maybe he's trying to cool his tires off a little bit before he lets go and tries to put together another run. But you've got 17 to go here this time by. As you mentioned, Blake, you are running out of laps to get by Stallneck. You're going to have to get by Ronnie Osmer as well, the lap car, in order to get to Justin Melillo in the 53. So he has got to be on his game the rest of the way. He can't spend much of any time riding behind the 41 or the 55 anymore. He's got to go.
Yes, he has, and we'll see if he can do it. And if anybody else can really join this battle up here, I was thinking that once we got towards this last restart that we would start to see a Colin Fern, a David Schildhouse, or a Ryan Vargas catch your race leaders, but we haven't seen that quite yet. They just haven't had the speed. You could see a lot of distance between Colin Fern and David Schildhouse. He is way up the road, gets a lot of clean air as a result. But because of that, he just doesn't have a lot of draft down these straightaways. He's losing time that way. So it's kind of a catch-22, Jacob, that you want clean air, but you also want draft at the same time. It's hard to get both.
Yeah, I think the guys back here at this point are looking and waiting for maybe another caution to get themselves back into this deal. But for everybody else, especially at the very front, they're hoping, Justin Melillo is hoping, that we can keep it green the rest of the way. Stallneck might be hoping the same thing right now. Maybe the same for Presley Sora, although I think a caution would benefit him as well, as now we hit 15 laps to go here at the stripe, at the Yard of Bricks. So laps continue to tick away, and the gap between Melillo and Stallneck continues to hang right around a second. Really no fluctuation right now.
And we're seeing that kind of throughout the field, just kind of this stalemate. It's a little bit different than what we've seen all night long. Even when we've gotten some green flag runs, we've seen some drivers really able to charge through the field. We've seen some drivers who have been able to save. That has just not been the case right now. As you can see, that battle for second side by side, Presley Sora able to get it done. And like we were mentioning earlier, did not waste a lot of time to do it. We'll see if Stallneck has any counterpunch for Presley Sora. But right now, it looks like driver 98 driving away, and he did run down Melillo. Or actually, no, he didn't. Melillo pulled him by 3/10. So Presley Sora up into second. He has a lot of work to do to try to catch Justin.
But he ripped the Band-Aid off now, right? He's gotten by Stallneck, and he's caught up right away to Ronnie Osmer. Osmer gets out of the way, and Sora goes right by into second. Huge move by Ronnie Osmer to get out of the way of the race leader. He wants Presley Sora to try and catch Justin Melillo and make this a two-car fight for the win. Presley Sora now only has Melillo to catch and to pass to try and take the race lead.
And that lap, it was about 2/10 that Sora was better than Justin Melillo, and it looks like perhaps that the anchor that was on that 98 trying to save those tires, perhaps he just lifted that right now because he gets a little bit of a sniff of that draft. He's going to have another lap car in Michael Fisher at the top of your screen to utilize, so Sora has made up a ton of time in short order. Oh, Carruth in front of the leader, spins out. No caution, but Carruth gets loose, goes down to the inside. He has no control over that race car, so Melillo loses his drafting partner.
And Michael Fisher was a lapped car. He just got by, or he just got passed by Melillo. Now here comes Sora. He goes by. They were side by side for a moment for third. Colin Fern has been flying these last couple laps. He lost the car underneath. Matt Stolnick had to bail out of it, so Stolnick holds on as Chase Cabry catches the wall off turn 2, keeps all 4 wheels in the right direction, but Justin Melillo loses the drafting partner that he was relying on down the stretch. We're coming to 11 laps to go, and Presley Sora can see the race leader. He's within 3/10 off turn 4.
You see Sora starting to push up just a little bit as he finally gets into the turbulent air off of the 53, but he's going to make up a ton of time here on the front straightaway. 11 laps to go here at Indy. Presley Sora to the top side to try and get a little bit of clean air on Justin Melillo. And Jacob, I think if you're the 53 right here, you have to be mirror driving.
Troubled off turn 1. One car to the inside wall. Single car spin. This one's Ryan Vargas. He takes a huge shot to the inside wall. He slid up in turn 1, made contact with Michael Fisher. Fisher saved the race car. Vargas did not. A hellacious crash to the inside for Vargas. We stay green. Colin Fern has ripped third away from Stolnick. Meanwhile, Presley Sora is a car length away from your race leader.
Presley Sora has a run down the front straightaway as they cross the yard bricks this time. 10 laps to go. Sora to the outside into turn number 1. He is way up the racetrack, but is holding steady on Justin Melillo. Into turn 2, Sora looked to try and cross him back over, and he may have it here off of turn 2. They're still side by side. Now give it to Presley Sora, your leader here at Indy. But Justin Melillo not going to go away just yet.
Melillo going to try and go the outside line in turn number 3. Sora drives it in deep. Sora's clear just for a second now. Melillo hanging back on the outside. Now he's forced to drop back in line. Oh, and he has to come down to the bottom of the racetrack. Close quarters off turn number 4. This side-by-side battle may allow Colin Fern to close into the picture. They're wheel-to-wheel back to turn 1. Melillo back out in front.
Presley Sora looking to win again here in Monday Night Racing. He's been to victory lane many times before. Justin Melillo, always a bridesmaid, but never the bride, looking for his first victory in Monday Night Racing. Sora to the outside, Justin Melillo down to the bottom. They'll be side by side again into turn number 3. Meanwhile, they are not losing ground to Colin Fern in third. Fern has not made up any time, so it is right now just a battle with your top 2.
Melillo clear for the lead, and these 2 drivers going to have to be perfect over these final 9-8 laps here at the start-finish line. Sora leads that time by on the outside. Here comes Melillo, drives it in deep. They're wheel-to-wheel off turn number 1. Here they go to turn 2. Sora still with the wing out in front. Melillo fights back on the bottom off the corner.
As soon as one driver throws a punch, a counter punch is ready by the opposite driver. Side by side once again into turn 3. Sora trying to pinch down Justin Melillo into the corner. Melillo will take the top spot into turn 4 and will take the bottom. Now Sora may try a crossover. Melillo going to block to the bottom. Sora with a run to the top once again.
These guys are all over each other, almost contact a couple different times on that last time around. Here comes Melillo back on the bottom. Sora leads at the start-finish line. Melillo with a great run through turn 1. Tries to connect the corner in turn number 2. Down on the bottom. He's clear. Melillo back in front.
And Melillo, I think, is having the strategy that we saw earlier implied by Chase Cabry, that you can pass me, but you are going to have to do it on the top, as Melillo nearly arced him out of the corner. Almost contact between Sora and Melillo. Sora tags the outside wall, getting into turn 4. We may have to watch if that'll slow him down. Doesn't look to on the front straightaway. 6 laps to go this time by. Melillo has it at the stripe, but they are once again side by side.
Sora losing that time. Believe it or not, it actually helped him. It got him a little further back, allowed him to use that draft to get right to the back bumper of Justin Melillo. Melillo using the bottom of the racetrack, slides up. He is clear. Here comes Sora. A huge block by Melillo. Down to the bottom of the racetrack. They're still side by side down the back straightaway, trying to get every advantage they can. Wheel to wheel, almost contacting the turn 3. Sora out in front by a nose.
Oh, and Melillo had to check up. He got a little bit tight there on the bottom as Sora each lap is creeping down, further down the racetrack. racetrack to try and pinch Melillo down to where he can't run. Snaking down the front straightaway, Melillo will catch the draft. 5 laps to go.
Melillo peeks to the outside, a huge run into turn number 1. Sora gives him the outside, but Sora has the momentum on the bottom. He is clear for the lead. Sora has to tuck back in line.
Melillo got tight.
He's way up the hill. He's in the wall. He's in the wall. Back down the racetrack. Justin Melillo off the pace. He'll lose second. There goes Colin Fern. He'll lose third. There goes Matt Stolnick. Justin Melillo just couldn't quite hold on, drove it too deep off turn number 2, and Presley Sora scooting away.
Oh, and he may be mangled in that race car. Perhaps what we saw earlier with Josh Bilicki, that car is not up to full song, and it is twitching around on the straightaway. So Justin Melillo, heartbreak here once again at Indy. Presley Sora clear to the lead by about 2.3 seconds, but Justin Melillo, unfortunately, yet again, will not see victory lane here in Monday Night Racing.
And you have to feel for Justin Melillo. He has the most second-place finishes in M&R history without a race win. He has done everything he possibly could to try and go to victory lane in this series. Tonight will not be the night, unfortunately, for Justin Melillo, and he'll just have to re-rack and try it again next week when we head to CTMP. Coming to 3 laps to go, Presley Sora out in front by 2.5 seconds over Colin Fern.
He gave it a heck of a fight, that's for sure, and there may not be much fight left for Presley Sora as he is 2.3 seconds ahead of Colin Fern, who is matching him step for step in terms of lap time, Jacob, but does not have any draft to try and catch Sora, so Sora just has to bring this one home, and of course hope that nothing happens further back in the field.
And that's the key right now, is he's hoping that everybody can keep all 4 wheels on the racetrack and not put it into the outside wall. Cause or caution. We've seen a couple of single-car incidents on this run, but we have not seen any sort of caution as a result, as Sora leads him back around. 2 laps to go when he hits the yard of bricks. He is just 5 miles away from victory lane at Indianapolis.
They're duking it out just outside the top 10. It was nearly contact between Devin Henry and Gary Sexton. That's about the only thing that comes between Presley Sora and a hometown victory here tonight at Indianapolis. You can see it right there on your screen, side by side, almost contact as Sexton nearly comes to blows right there. That is a vicious battle going on right now for the 11th position with Bickford, Devin Henry, and Gary Sexton, but off of turn 4, 1 more lap to go. Presley Sora, he can see the white flag right now. He just has to get it, and he does across the yard of bricks.
Next flag will end the race, and for Presley Sora, it has not been a best year for Sora by any stretch of the imagination. He's still coming off of the championship, 3rd in the points, has yet to go to victory lane, yet to punch his ticket to try and fight for another championship. As he drives it into turn number 3, the hometown kid of Presley Sora is 1 corner away from going to victory lane.
Makes it down into turn 4 for the final time, and off of turn number 4, Presley Sora went to the back at the start, and he raced his way back up to the top spot. Presley Sora is a winner at Indianapolis. Colin Fern hangs on for second. Matt Stolnick, Ford Martin, and how about Mark Rabillis makes his way by David Schildhouse in the nick of time for your top 5. Schildhouse, Cabot, Lyons, Justin Melillo, and James Bickford rounds out your top 10. So Presley Sora comes out on top in a memorable battle between he and Justin Melillo. Sora goes to victory lane once again in his Monday Night Racing career and will lock his way into the round of 12 here in season 6 to try and defend his title, and takes it home at home. Presley Sora gets it done.
Well, and how about this too, Blake? Remember, nobody has won the Rabillis No Incident Award over the last 2 races. $300 up for grabs. Presley Sora, a goose egg, highest finisher with 0 incidents. So on top of the race win, on top of punching his ticket for the playoffs, he leaves tonight $300 richer. So
Presley Sora, you can see the burnout on your screen as he is ready to park and talk to us. I'm sure we'll hear from him in just a moment, as Presley Sora is your winner of the Next Level Racing 125 here in Indianapolis. Don't touch the dial, though. Post-race coverage is up next.
I ain't trying to break you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street. Everywhere. Interstate batteries. Outrageously dependable.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Back with you here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was a spirited battle in the final 20 laps between Presley Sora and Justin Melillo. Presley Sora gets the better end of it, locks his way in to defend his title, as he'll try to get another one here in Season 6, and it's a hometown victory for Presley Sora. We'll bring him into the booth now. And Presley, I know a lot of wins. There's not a win that doesn't mean anything to you, but coming here, you're a hometown kid, you're a Hoosier. What does it mean to win here in Monday Night Racing at Indy?
This is awesome. I've been saying for the last week, actually no, I've been saying since the schedule came out last season that I'm winning this race. I've told everybody that I'm going to win this race. People came into my work this morning. They asked me where we were racing tonight, and I said we're racing Indy with Indy cars, and it's my home track, and I am going to win the race. And I lived up to that. Black flag to checkered flag there at the beginning. Yeah, this is awesome. I was more confident for this race right here than any race in the history of my iRacing or real racing career. I was ready to rock and roll tonight, and I showed that by winning the pole. And then, the black flag, I didn't agree with that at the beginning, but it didn't matter in the end. I didn't need to go out there and lead every lap, which that was the goal. But I'll take the few laps that I did lead and pull the checkered. We'll take it.
I was about to say, talk to us about your drive through the field. A lot going on there, and of course you think you have the best seat in the house up at the front of the field. You get put to the tail end. What was your drive like trying to get back up through the entire field?
Well, we spent a really long time just sitting in the back. I mean, I was fuel map 5, and it was actually funny. I was fuel map 5, and I was still picking off a few guys at the back of the field. But I was just trying to just save tires, save fuel, and really just save my race car, because it was like ping pong out there. They were all over the place. It was sketchy, but yeah, I was letting them just clean each other out, and then I didn't even take another set of tires until lap 60, and because I hadn't pushed them the whole race. And I just slowly but surely just picked guys off one by one. I got myself in the top 10, and obviously, once you get up in the top 10, guys are a little faster, so it's a little harder to keep going forward. But yeah, slowly I just kept, getting cars one by one. I get them on the top, and yeah, me and Justin, we had a heck of a battle there. I hate that the air pushed him up into the wall like that, because I wanted to keep going like that until the checkered. But yeah, that was an awesome battle. I respect the heck out of him for keeping that clean, because there's some guys that either would choose not to, or they just wouldn't be able to, and they'd run me up the track into the wall. But no, he kept that thing clean, and I respect the heck out of that. But yeah, I was the last 2 or 3 laps, I kept saying over and over to my spotter and crew chief, Robert Dorman and James Pike. I was like, man, just please keep it green. I was like, I don't want to get heartbroken by a caution. I've worked too hard for this one. Just let me bring it home. And thankfully they kept it clean, and I did bring it home.
All right, Presley, well, congratulations. You've locked your way into the round of 12, so I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you here as we get into the playoffs. But nice job tonight, and again, congratulations on your victory here at Indy.
Thank you, and I got to give a big, big thanks to my sponsors, Shaq iGear, Mamba Media, Roasted Gems Coffee, Skybox NASCAR, B-Blaze Vintage, McConey Setup Shop, 213 Simware, and Splash and Go Graphics. This car looked awesome, and I'm so glad I won in that thing, because I would have been so disappointed to finish anywhere worse than first in a car that looks this good. So yeah, shout out to all those partners.
Presley Sora gets it done here in Indianapolis. We'll let him go, and we will instead catch up with our 9th place finisher tonight. He was a part of that battle to the end. Jacob Hitz is caught up with Justin Melillo.
Justin Melillo was in it until the very end tonight. Take us through that battle with Presley Sora. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, that was some of the most incredible racing that I've ever had in this game. We were definitely, both of us were putting it all on the line there, and I couldn't ask for anything much more of that. I was either going to come home with the checkered flag or the steering wheel, and that's what we got. So, you know what? It's my best finish of the season. I got to look at the positives. It was, I really thought I had it there, and the lap car in front of me lost it off the corner, and it cost me about 3 seconds to the field. And I really truly think if that didn't happen, I might have been able to hold on. Just, things just don't go your way sometimes. And I really thought tonight was my night, and it just didn't happen.
Obviously, next week we go to CTMP, the road course with the next-gen cars. A lot different than what we had tonight.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my throwaway race of the regular season. But it's next-gen cars. We're going to be slipping and sliding all over the course there. It's very easy to get off course on Motorsport. We just had the International Series up there a couple weeks ago, and some of the best drivers in the world were losing it off of all the corners and punting into each other. So I'm sure we'll have our own little excursions next week. But man, this Traction.gg IndyCar was absolutely phenomenal tonight. Strategy was on point. I really thought I scammed the field tonight, and we'll just have to wait for another fun combination that I can actually compete in for another chance, I guess.
Nonetheless, top 10, best finish of the season. Nothing to hang your head about. Justin, congratulations, and best of luck next week from CTMP.
Thank you, Jacob.
That's Justin Melillo coming home P9, just coming up short at the end of this deal here from Indianapolis. Blake.
Yeah, it was a tough deal to know that Justin had such a great shot there to lock into the postseason, as we'll take a look at our full field results here. Of course, Presley Sora with the win, Colin Fern second, Matt Stolnick in third. Ford Martin finishes up in the 4th spot. Mark Rebillis rounds out your top 5, so a lot of great runs up here in the top 5. David Schildhaus 6th. Adam Cabot was 7th, Robbie Lyons with 8th, Justin Melillo 9th, and James Bickford rounded out your top 10.
Gary Sexton comes home in 11th. Devin Henry, a nice little rebound for him after his crash. He finishes in 12th. Josh Slate finishes 13th. Jordan Buster, 14th. 15th belongs to Case Kallenbach. A nice finish for him. Steven Ellison, 16th. Alex LeBay, 17th. Chase Cabry, 1 lap down in the 18th position. First car lap down. Then Will Rogers and Ronnie Osmer rounding out the top 20.
21st was Michael Fisher. 22nd tonight after a very strong run up at the front of the field was DJ Cummings. Connor Berry finishes 23rd. Another strong run gone wrong for him, as well as Joshua Balicki in 24th. Ryan Vargas finished in 25th. Raja Caruth was 26th. Steve Affont 27th. Seth Eggert was 28th. Bailey Turner finished in 29th, and Reed Wilson was 30th.
And all these guys DNF'd out of this race with damage to their cars. Corey Heim in 31st, Joey Padgett 32nd, Preston Pardis 33rd, Leighton Sabile 34th, Nick Olson 35th, Dakota Curtis 36th, Max Kennan 37th, Michael Massey 38th, Gabe Wood 39th, Chris Weaver 40th, and the final three, Garrett Smithley, Ron Capps, and of course Anthony Alfredo with his connection issues, did not turn a lap tonight from Indianapolis.
That is how they finish up here tonight at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Next one up, though, Jacob, we heard a couple of drivers mention in their post-race comments, next-gen cars at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. That's going to be a tough one for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of guys going off course next week. I think Justin had a great point talking about the International Series, where if the pros can't handle it, imagine how these guys are going to do. It's going to be one of those where we're going to see a lot of guys off course. There are a lot more carnage next week. We'll see how cautions play into it. Keep in mind, we are at a road course, so we'll see what the league decides to do as far as cautions, as far as the race distance for that, whether it's a timed race like we saw at the Daytona road course earlier this year, or if it's a traditional lap-counted race. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think CTMP will be pretty fun next week if we have the guys that have been fast all season long, guys like Joey Padgett, David Schildhaus, Raja Caruth up at the front of the field. I think they could put on one heck of a show next week. And we've had two banger finishes in a row between the photo finish last week at Texas and the dramatic finish this week. We could put it up a three-peat next week. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And you know that Turn 10 at CTMP is known for throwdown, brawls, dump 'em and bump 'em style racing. That's what we're going to see next week.
It'll absolutely be something to watch. And again, I think a combination that is tough, it's challenging, but I think you're right. I think that type of road course can put on a really great show, and who knows, maybe we'll see something the likes of Cole Custer and all the Chase Elliott, all the other great finishes, if you want to call it that, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So for Ford Martin and Paul Sutton of Monday Night Racing, Josh Mendoza in race control, Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports, our camera builder Dougie Beard tonight, our overlay builder Michael Hall, Cameron Auburnon on social media for us tonight, and for tonight's broadcast crew, our producer Ryan Bauer, and my colleague in the broadcast booth, Jacob Hitz. I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from Indianapolis, but don't go away just yet. We are starting our coverage of the Frontstretch.com post-race show with Brendan Hoff and Michael Massey here in just a moment. So don't go away. Post-race coverage is up next.
All right, thanks for that, Blake. We are here for another week of the Frontstretch.com post-race show. I'm Brandon Hoff. That is Michael Massey. Mike, we're here another week. Interesting race. I guess you can use the word interesting. What was it from your point of view? I know you kind of had pretty bad luck tonight.
Oh, man, I haven't been mad like that in a while, where you get your hopes up and you just get them crushed, because that's what the beginning 50 laps or whatever of this race was. It was just mayhem. It had a pretty good run to the end, but yours truly was not around for that part, because I don't want to throw people under the bus, but the same person caused both wrecks I got caught up in. I was running around right at the top 25. Well, I was actually top 20, but I kept coming in to top off with fuel because I knew we were going to have a long run at some point. But, used the faster barrier the first wreck. Second wreck, I came to pit road, and they told me, you're done for the day. So, that's a frustrating one. But it looked like it was, once it got past the wreck fest stage of the race, it looked like it was a pretty good race. We saw an awesome battle between Presley Sora and Justin Malillo there at the end. And yeah, it's too bad that Justin, I guess he just lost control there, but man, it would have been a lot more fun if we could have seen both of them go toe-to-toe to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I mean, that battle the last like 15, 20 laps, I mean, that was intense. They just kept crossing each other over. I legit thought Justin was getting that. I mean, he was out front. He had Raj's toe, and I thought because of that, at least until Raja wrecked, I thought that was going to help him win and stay ahead of everybody else. But hey, that was a really good race run by Justin. I mean, I know he hasn't had the best of luck in these races, but he ran a really good race tonight. I mean, given everything that everybody went through. And Presley too, Presley won, and, he ran a great race. But really the last 30 laps were probably some of the most entertaining laps we've seen in the league, just because, the way they had to go at it. But I'm glad. I don't like wrecks or anything, but I will say I don't like when the lappers come in between the leaders in the closing laps, as we've seen a couple of weeks. But I'm glad, I'm happy for Presley. I'm sad for Justin, but we saw a good race. And I'm glad I'm happy for Presley. And I know we'll have him on the show tonight.
And he's an Indiana native, so that track means a lot. Even if it's virtual, it still means a lot to him. He better have some milk that he's dumping all over himself.
Stay tuned. He's going to talk about it. He's going to talk about it later.
We're going to get him on here shortly. But we've got some other guests as well. It was a weird top 10, really. Was Colin Firm was second, which that's normal. Matt Staltneck was third.
Yeah,
I believe that was his best finish of the year. I want to say.
I think so. Yeah,
his best finish of the year, and Ford.
Yeah.
Ford is a little disappointed in us for not having him on to talk about it tonight, but it's his best finish of the year. So good job, Ford. And Mark Rabillas rounding up the top 5, a guy who missed a couple races early in the season for who knows why. But, yeah, so that was a fun one for sure. And I believe we have the third place finisher ready to go. Matt Staltneck finishing the third.
There he is.
Unfortunately, he's wearing a Syracuse shirt, but we see him there. How you doing tonight, Matt? You got
I'm doing good. Am I live? Oh, I'm live. All right.
You're live.
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Congrats on the podium run. What did it look like from your vantage point? How'd you pull it off?
Man, really just getting track position early was really crucial. Like, I really thought that I put myself in a bad spot by messing up my qualifying lap, and started the race in P25, but was able to make a lot of passes on the high lane in the opening, like 10, 20 laps of the race, and was able to get into the top 10. And once you're in that top 10, mostly just comes down to strategy and just trying to pick off one or two, guys, on a run as you can get them, and was able to work all the way up to that top 3. And then honestly felt like I blew the race there at the end. Like, I knew that Justin was kind of short on fuel. Ultimately, it looked like he would have made it, but I was just saving, and I was content to just kind of ride in P2 there for that last 10 to 15 lap run. And I had the right distance that I wanted to get to, and then Presley just caught me with like the craziest head of steam, and I didn't have my weight jacker adjusted on the car where I needed it to, and I didn't have the straight line speed, and he just zoomed by me. And at that point, like trying to get past two guys was going to be really tough. And I didn't notice the weight jacker was off until I started battling with Colin, and by that point in the race I was too far back. So it's good when you're a little bit disappointed with a top 3, and certainly a great points night. Like, I think sitting like 6th or 7th at points now after that. So thrilled with that. It's been a really good start to the season so far. I've been able to kind of keep the nose clean and no DNFs, which honestly, with how many guys we have in the league this year and how many drivers have been attempting races, it's really just been about, survive, and did that tonight and worked out.
Yeah, Matt, you talk about the start to your season. You said you're sixth or seventh points. Kind of quietly, under the radar. You don't have the win yet. Talk about the season though so far. I know in the past few weeks of our show we've talked about, the competitive, the most probably this being the most competitive season of M&R yet. What's your opinion on that? Do you agree, or where do
No
you think
doubt.
the competition level is right now?
Competition level is crazy high right now. I mean, you look at the entry list every week, and you've got 10 to 15 plus real life drivers, NASCAR Xfinity Cup trucks. And I mean, like, we're sending guys home on a weekly basis that are like real life drivers in some cases. So I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about just the level of competition in this league. And it's an honor. It's an honor to be able to race with these guys, and an even better honor to be able to run well. So yeah, I mean, frankly, this was a race that I had circled. Talladega was a race that I had circled, and I feel like I know my weaknesses as a driver, and I know my strengths. And road courses are a huge weakness for me, and wanted to at least come out of the Daytona road course race with like at least some decent points. And it wasn't a great run. I think I finished 18th or 19th in that race, but ultimately I felt like if I could just get through that one, get through Motegi, where I thought I could be somewhat competitive, from Texas on, with the exception of the Canadian Tire race here coming up, I felt great about the rest of the schedule. So I was like, if I can just be in that 10 to 15 range in points, like, I feel like I can take off. And this was a race that I put a ton of pressure on, for that same reason, because with only having like an 8 to 10 race run up until the playoffs start, you got to maximize your strengths, because everybody has different ones in this league. We've got guys that are great road course racers. We have guys that are great on super speedways, Indy cars, like drafty tracks. Like, we have some guys that are great on intermediates, whatever. You have to be able to max points in races where you feel like you have a little bit of an advantage. And this was a combo that I felt great about. And felt like earlier in qualifying, it was going out the window. But that's, like I said, that's the key. You got to circle races that you feel good about, and then execute. And feel like that's been the story of the season, for me so far, and I think for the rest of the guys that are up there.
Yeah, well, what I don't get is, you said you started back there in like the 25th place area. How'd you get out of there without getting caught up in one of the 800,000 wrecks that happened in the first 50 laps of the race? Because that's where I was. I was in that like 19th to 26th range, and it was mayhem. There was no escaping.
Well, they say it's better to be lucky than good. So I think I was more lucky than good for the first part of that race, man. It was nuts. Like, there was a couple moments early in that race where I was an inch away from just getting cleaned out. So yeah, I mean, there was one in particular where I think it was Chase Cabry just went into turn one and just lost it. Like, his weight jacker was screwed up or something. He just lost it, like, going to the corner. And like, I swear to God, I missed him probably by an inch. So your guess is as good as mine, Massey. There was a lot of chaos. I was lucky to be ahead of it in most of the cases. And dude, I'll tell you what, man, there were some pucker factor moments out there tonight. And I'm just glad I wasn't on the other end of a few of them, because very easily your night could go from, running top 10. I mean, DJ had that happen. Teammate DJ Cummings minding his own business, running up front, and guy just cleans him out underneath him. I was right behind that one. That almost got me clocked too. So I feel for you, man. The back of that field is just mayhem every week. And that's why qualifying is so important. You got to try to get out of that mess.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Truck Series a little bit. That certain spot to get away from the wrecks. But thanks so much for coming on. Congrats again on the podium. You gonna douse yourself in any milk for getting a podium in the Indy 500, or how's that work?
Maybe chug a half a glass of milk and
yeah, I think maybe I'll take like a small swig of chocolate milk. I don't think I deserve anything more than that, and I don't think I deserved to jump a full glass. I think that's reserved for the winners. So congrats to Presley. He earned it. He freaking blew by me on that one run late in the race there. So he deserves it. He needs to take the glory on that one. I'll pass.
For sure.
I'm smelling like milk tomorrow.
Well, enjoy that little swig of chocolate milk, and good luck next week. We'll see you next time.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
And I think we got another top 5 finisher already ready to go, ready to ride the pony. We mentioned a 5th place finisher, and there's the man himself, Mark Revillis. What's going on, Mark? How you feeling after the top 5?
Good, man. That was awesome stuff. I'm happy I was able to finally put together the good finish that I know that I was able to get.
It's crazy where you can finish when you actually show up to one of the races, right?
Too soon.
Too soon.
I mean, you got a top 5. I mean, you gotta be thrilled. I mean, especially after the wait.
I'm ecstatic. My season started off crappy on my own accord for the first one. But yeah, no, it's great to have a good finish like that. I believe that ties my career best too, so that's really cool. And IndyCar is my thing. That's like my favorite thing on iRacing to run. So I'm happy that I was able to come back from a scary moment on the first lap and get it done. And I still had my fast repair left, so that was cool.
Nice. You were one of maybe the only one out there with a fast repair left.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was pretty hard to come by for anybody to have a fast repair left.
Right. Yeah, I had a set of tires and a fast repair ready to go if we had an overtime. That would have been good stuff.
So how'd you do it? How'd you get through the mayhem? Because I mean, it took me out. I got caught up in 2 wrecks before lap 50. So what was it like from your vantage point?
I was purposely staying to the back. I run really conservative in most of these races, especially stuff like IndyCar where you can't get away with that much. So I stayed in the back and was kind of letting people wreck themselves out. And then around halfway, it started to get a lot cleaner racing as people were falling out and figuring things out. So then I knew I had to start making a move because track position was pretty important. And you couldn't, it's not like a plate track where you can make up 5-10 positions in a couple laps. You have to like work a few laps for each position pretty much. So I just started working my way through, and I was messing with my my fuel map a little bit because it was getting close on fuel at the end, and it all worked out for me. It was good stuff.
Yeah, that's an advantage. You mentioned the fuel map. I know a lot of these oval guys might not know, what the fuel maps do, but, being IndyCar is your thing. Did you feel like going into the night you could have any sort of advantage? Like you might have a legitimate shot to win the race, even though the way the season started? I mean, you got a 5th, so, you had to feel like you had a shot if you got a late caution there.
Yeah, but my goal going into the race was like a top 15, and then around halfway, I'm like, okay, I can definitely get a top 10. And towards the end, I was looking top 5 and above. I didn't really know what everybody's fuel situation was, but I knew I was good. So yeah, it was just super close, and it's just awesome to back it up in my favorite kind of car.
How does it make you feel that the winner of the race also had 0 incident points? I know there's a certain bonus that you've been throwing out there for people if they do get 0x.
Yeah, that's a big payday for young Presley. It's rolled over 2 weeks in a row, so he's going to get $300. So that's pretty cool for him. And then earlier today, I did another bonus if whoever won the race, if they would dunk themselves with milk and post it on social media, that I'd throw them $100. So I believe Presley's going to take me up on that offer as well. So it's a good payday for him.
He better do it. We gotta bully him into doing it if he doesn't.
Oh, he's shameless. He'll do it.
Listen, after making it through that race the way it started out, I mean, I do whatever. I mean, he deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people were complaining, but it was awesome. And it's kind of how real IndyCar races work. They're messy at the beginning, and then as people get cleaned out, it gets cleaner. But they also don't start with 43 drivers.
That's a fair point.
I mean, the Indy 500 starts 3 wide too, and you guys didn't do that tonight with 33 of them.
We couldn't start 2 wide.
Exactly. I know. Imagine the wreck in turn 1 this night if it was
exactly
3 wide.
Well, Mark, we've been trying to get you on here for a while, and it seemed like every time I asked you to come on last season, you would just run up into the mountains and say that you were away or something. And
yeah, storm chasing a lot.
So
No, I owed it to you guys. You have been asking a while, and then this was the perfect time to do it with a nice finish. I didn't want to come on the show after like a 35th place showing and making excuses for why I suck.
but no, we wanted to have
appreciate
you on because you make the league a funnier place sometimes when the uncancelable jokes or whatever don't go too far. But yeah, congrats again on the top 5 finish. Was it career best for you? Have you?
Yeah, I think it tied my career best, but my career best could have possibly been 6 before tonight, so I'm not really sure. But if it wasn't the best, it tied it, so it's awesome.
All right. Yeah, so enjoy the top 5. Think of some more ways to, raise Ford Martin's blood pressure. And
so yeah, before we go, I heard I'm up to 36 in points, which is important. But the problem is next week Monday Night Football's here in Phoenix, so I'm going to be missing next week's race. So then I get to play the stress game of trying to get back into the top 35 all over again.
You just gotta keep it going. Well, enjoy taking some photos of the wee little man running around out there.
Yes, sir.
So, we'll catch you next time. Good luck in your quest for top 35.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Mark. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Yeah,
all right, that was Mark.
The troll himself, the league troll.
Hey, he got a top 5, so that's good for him.
For sure. Yeah.
Hey, there he is. There's the man of the hour.
The race winner. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's doused in milk. He hasn't had a milk bath or anything. So a little disappointed on that front. But congrats on the win. How'd you pull it off out there?
Thank you. Yeah, we're saving the milk for tomorrow. That'll be on my Twitter at some point, probably tomorrow afternoon. But there will be a milk shower, that's for sure. The race was insane. I won the pole, and I've been talking a lot of crap the last couple of months about how I'm going to win this race. The day they revealed it down there at the M&R finale down at Charlotte. And before the race even started, they revealed that. And immediately I said, I'm winning IndyCar at IMS. And I've maintained that mentality. And the whole last week, I've said, I'm going to win this race. And anything, second is bad, third is even worse. And it just keeps going down the list. And I was not accepting anything less than first. And the race was all over the place. I started on pole, and I got that black flag for a start violation, which I still don't quite understand, but it didn't end up mattering in the end. I stayed cool with the help of my crew chief and spotter, Robert Dorman and James Pike. They kept me nice and calm, and we set a perfect strategy. Really, we were just playing it easy, letting guys take each other out, which they did a lot of. And I played it nice and clean in the back, and slowly but surely guys would crash. They would fall out of the race, and I'd get their spots. And then around lap 60, I took on a set of tires, my first set of tires, and just slowly pick people off one by one. And it was awesome. Once I got up into like third or fourth, I was like, I got a real good shot at this. And then I got past Stallnick and got into second, and I was closing on Melillo fast, and I was like, I think I might win this thing. And Melillo and I had an awesome battle, and there's not many guys that would keep it like really clean like he did in that. But Justin is one of the cleanest guys on here, and that's how he races. He's not going to junk me for the win, and I can race side by side and put it right up on him, because I know that there's no risk of him wrecking me, because he's a good driver and he keeps it clean. So I had full trust in him to race me just like he did, and it was an awesome battle. I hate that he caught the wall with the dirty air. That's just, you can't control that. Once you get stuck in it, you're stuck, and unfortunately it bit him. But yeah, shout out to him for an awesome race there at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when something like that happens, and you guys were having a fantastic battle, it really kind of, saved the race. I want to say, just because it was such a wreck fest early on, and to get such a great battle toward the end. But when you see a situation like that where the guy that you're going toe to toe with has an issue and nearly spins out and he's out of contention now, were you able to like take a breath of fresh air, and get the heart down, or were you like bummed out that you guys couldn't have one of those photo finishes for the W? What's the emotions there when you see that?
There was no breath of fresh air whatsoever until I came out of 4, or actually probably at the white flag. But yeah, the last 3 or 4 laps after Justin had his issue, I would have liked us to battle it out, to the finish. I think if I could have cleared him for one corner there early in that battle, I could have pulled away with the dirty air that he would have had. But we just kept getting side by side, and neither one of us could completely clear. And that made it difficult because neither one was really making any ground on the other. So, yeah, once I got past him, and then once he did catch the wall, then I was actually more worried, which sounds dumb, but when you're battling like that, you don't really have enough time to worry about anything because you're so focused. But once he hit the wall, I was like, oh no, please don't get a caution. I was thinking, we've had so many yellows this entire race. Please don't have another. Let this be it. Let me just drive off into the Indianapolis sunset and win this thing. I was worried that we were going to get a yellow, but we didn't, thankfully.
Presley, you're being the defending champion like you are, you just seem like Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected every single week. It doesn't matter what. I mean, we've talked about this on the show before. Every week you're just up there racing for the win, winning all these races. How do you do it? I mean, it against such a competitive field, every week, week in, week out. Doesn't matter what car, what track. I mean, do you feel any like pressure against these guys winning the championship last year and then trying to repeat this season? Or do you just view it as a different opportunity every week and just taking it one race at a time?
Yeah, oddly enough, I don't really feel much pressure when I'm racing them, just because I think, I've done it so much, whether, even like outside of M&R, I've raced, NASCAR drivers like Anthony and Ryan Vargas and like even like Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch. I've raced those guys before, so I'm kind of used to the pressure of racing big names. And, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been like, oh man, this is wild. I'm side by side with a NASCAR driver here. But now I'm at the point where everybody's the same. I don't think of any competitor any differently than the next guy. So it's pretty easy to stay calm from my point of view. And this season especially, I'm kind of like, well, I've won the title last year, so I've already proven myself to everybody. So now I'm kind of just kind of racing for wins. It's really fun. It's a lot less pressure than last season, because last season I'd say half the league probably didn't even know who I am. And there's probably, still some guys that come in on an inconsistent basis that don't know who I am. But, I think last year I was still trying to prove that I'm fast, and nobody really thought at the beginning of the season that I was going to be a threat to win anything. And now people know every week that I'm going to be up there. And I think Monday Night Racing is like a perfect league for me, because there's a lot of guys that are good with just NASCAR stuff or just IndyCar stuff or just sports cars or whatever. But I'm pretty good with a lot of car track combinations on iRacing, and with a lot of stuff I can, I may not be very good, but I can learn it pretty quickly. So I think that helps me with the different car track combinations week in and week out, to where, some guys are more fit to one set driving style, and I'm kind of, I can be decent at a lot of things if I just put in the time. So, I think that's kind of how I'm always up towards the front, and I do put in practice. Not, I don't sit here and sweat the game all the time, but I'll hop in a session every now and then throughout the week, or before the race starts. I'll practice a little and just kind of get comfortable with it, and I think that really helps me.
Now, last week we had a guest on here. I'm sure you saw the clip. He cut a promo. It's this guy, Colin Fern. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not.
I think I heard of him once or twice before.
But he named a top 5 list. And I won't say what the list is, but you were on said list. And tonight, you beat him. He finished second behind you. Did you think about that at all when you looked at the final running order? Or what was your reaction to even being included on that list?
I thought the interview was hilarious. I enjoyed every second of it. I did watch the whole thing, and I thought it was great. I didn't, when I'm racing around, kind of like what I said earlier, I just race everybody the same. I don't think anybody different than the next guy, so I didn't think about it, and that's just, I saw he was behind me, but I didn't link anything to any issues or being on any lists that he has. But one funny thing though is my name was on his car for tonight. He had his list front and center on the side pod of his car, so
Wow.
I did see that.
Really?
And
I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, he posted on Twitter, and I saw it in the session too. When I passed it, I saw my name on the side. But yeah, I thought that was really funny because to make a Colin Fern list, that's like a life achievement. So I can cross that off of my bucket list, and yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it seems like an honor.
Oh, it is. It's the best honor anybody could hope for, is to get on Colin Fern's list.
Still waiting for him to dive bomb you every chance he gets, but we'll see if that actually happens going ahead. But yeah, apparently there's been some comments in the Twitch stream that you're a beast at Call of Duty. That's what your fans are going on about. So you win at racing, you win at blowing people's heads off, apparently. Is there anything of the video game sim nature you can't do?
Call of Duty. I suck at Call of Duty. I know who said that. It was Bobby, B-Blaze Vintage. I know it was him because we play Warzone together, and we did catch a dub the other night. So I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, no, I'm getting better though. So maybe in like 50 years I can be productive on it. But yeah, no, right now I'm not as good as what he made it sound, I don't think.
Okay, we got bad information on that. Okay, but you do your milk thing tomorrow. We'll be sure to share it and with the world. And my only request is that when you do it, I want you to be singing back home in Indiana.
Yeah, I don't have the best vocals in the world, so I may have to practice that a little bit tonight if I pull that one off. But there will definitely be a video on Twitter tomorrow of me dumping milk on my head. So and it's not going to be fun either because it's like 20 degrees here right now, maybe even colder, and it'll probably be in the teens tomorrow morning. So it's gonna be awful, but it'll be worth it. I'm glad I get to do it because if I didn't get to do it, then I wouldn't have won. So I guess we take our wins as they come, even if it means dumping milk on our head in 20-degree weather.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you also get the 0x bonus too.
Oh, I know. It's awesome, and it's stacked up from the last 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, that's a lot of money coming in for one race just off of keeping it clean. But I guess when other guys can't, then I'll capitalize off of it.
Yeah, just don't listen to Mark. Don't put it all in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's not the plan for it, actually. That thought didn't cross my mind. So
use it wisely.
Yeah, I will. Like putting gas in my truck.
There you go. Adult decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and congrats on the Indiana boy winning the Indy 500. Even if it's virtual, it's still a huge deal. And we look forward to seeing those social posts.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
You have a good
Congrats,
night.
Presley. Thanks.
Yeah, so he locks himself in the playoffs now. Not that I feel like there was never really a doubt that he was gonna.
Yeah. No, he was gonna be in no matter what.
Yeah.
Like he was gonna win. I mean, we knew it. It didn't matter. It was gonna be one of these weeks. I mean, he was either gonna lead the points which actually that leads us into, I believe, our next topic. We do have the updated points.
Yeah.
There we go. Very nice transition there. So yeah, we see 5 different winners now. So that's important because now we see Cabot or Adam is he's the top guy on points right now, making it in. You know, the battle is still, it's fairly tight up here. We see Vargas there in 10th, only 21 back, and then you see LeBay, and it's kind of tight, even back to Raja. It's only, what is that, 41 points? It's still very much a tight playoff race. But you do know there are guys 16th on back that could win, and then it'll get even tighter. I mean,
there's one guy not on this top 16 that you probably thought would be, and that's actually, Anthony Alfredo. He hasn't won this year, right?
No. Well, actually, Anthony, speaking of Anthony, Anthony's had internet troubles the last 2 weeks.
That's 2 weeks, exactly. So it has dropped him in the point stand.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I expect he might win at some point this regular season and could steal one of these spots. And then tonight, Joey Padgett was the points leader. He had a rough night. I think he got caught up in some wrecks. So you see him drop. So Adam Cabot, Colin Fern go ahead of him. But yeah, it's still, it really is anybody's game. Nobody's kind of jumping ahead as a clear favorite. It's kind of like the Cup Series was this year, where you're a different winner every week.
It's and we've heard it, we've said it. Everybody believes it. It's the most competitive season of M&R yet, and the points prove it. Different winners prove it. You don't have the one dominant guy, as you just said. So anything can happen, and I think it's going to continue to only get. The points are going to continue to get even tighter as we wind down near the playoffs. But I believe there is also another battle. Oh, well, there we go. We have the intervals now. So there we see DJ is 5 points out.
You don't have us two dummies doing math.
Yeah, listen, you don't want us doing math here on the air. We'd probably look back and be off by a little bit, but hey man, 5 points. We said it. It's a tight race there. And Preston is 8. But yeah, as I was mentioning, Mark mentioned the top 35 after his 5th place finish. Unfortunately, he is not in the top 35 yet. He's 9 back, as well as Seth. And there you see Anthony. Anthony is 34th. That's crazy.
Dangerous for him. If he has internet trouble, one more week, he's going to be out of it.
Yeah. And if anybody doesn't know, if anybody's followed the league, the top 35 is locked into the race. Like it used to be in NASCAR in the Cup Series, the top 35 make the race every week. 36th on back have to go to the qualifying event. So, it's pretty important, especially if, somebody isn't feeling confident in their ability at a certain track or car combo, and then they got to race their way in. Might not bode well. It's pretty important, but that race is only separated by 9, so it's gonna. I think that's gonna come down to the wire too as we get near the playoffs, but that's gonna go on all year or all season.
And that's the boat that I'm in right now. Is that I've been in those qualifying races the past 2 weeks, transferred my way into the main show, and then got caught up in wrecks. So like when you're finishing 41st and last week, and 38th, I think this week. You can't get back in the top 35. So, it's like a snowball. Once you get outside the top 35, the snowball just starts building and building, and it's really hard to come back from. So that is a crucial race to keep track of as the season goes on, like you said. But what do we have next, Brandon? I believe we're doing some road course racing.
It is the next gen at Mosport. There you go. Next Monday, December 12th. Yep, you see the next gen cars at Mosport, or I should say Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. What are we expecting? I know what we heard last week. You heard it on the show. Colin Fern guaranteed a win. Do I believe it? We'll see. I know Colin. I know how he is. We all know Colin. What do you think? What do you think for yourself here, Mike?
Well, that's one where I've said it repeatedly on here. I am not a road course racer. So if I transfer into that one, that will be saying something. But yeah, I don't even know if I own the track. If I own the sport or not. So I need to check that out. The next gen cars at road courses, it's a little tricky. You can, braking zones are later than like the old Cup car, but it seems like it's a whole lot easier for them to just snatch loose all of a sudden, and if you mess up the corner a little bit, and then the cars are unforgiving. You mess up a toe link fairly easily. So I look for a lot of carnage, but yeah, I think that you'll see Colin Fern will be a player. He'll play. I don't know if he'll win, but it's if one of those guys, like if Shane Van Gisbergen all of a sudden shows up.
Yeah.
I would put money on him to mop the floor with the field.
Yeah.
And there's some other, like Will Rogers is always good at road courses. If Brad Perez were to show up, he'd be a threat at a road course. So, there's different guys, but as always, you're going to see a lot of the same players as well. So, I don't know. As we talked about, it's anybody's race. It's hard to pick favorites this year because it's so tight. The competition is so tight this year.
Yeah, and the other thing we have to think about too is the way the cautions might work, if there will be any, as we usually do at the road courses, because you guys usually don't have any. You usually have the timed race, or at least in the sports cars you do. I don't know how the stock cars on the road course is going to work, but that could be a possibility. No cautions, which means you have a rough opening laps of the race. It's not gonna end well, unfortunately, for you probably. But who knows if it's a regular road course race with a set amount of laps with cautions, which I kind of doubt, but it could happen. It'll be just a normal race you'll see on iRacing on a road course. Might be a wreck fest, could be clean. We don't know. But yeah, like you said, I'm expecting some of the same players. I don't know if Colin's gonna win. I'll take his guarantee. I'll put it in the back of my mind here. And watching the race next week, who knows? I think it'll be exciting though. But I think that'll do it for us here tonight. As I said, as we've said the last couple minutes here, next week, December 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern on Podium Esports here. Mo Sport with the next gen cars for Monday Night Racing. For the Frontstretch.com post-race show, I am Brandon Hoff. That is Michael Massey. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.